G'day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Playday 6 of Six Masters 2020. I'm Guz, and joining me for all of tonight's action is Raven. First off, how you going, mate?
I am good. I'm super excited for tonight. All week I've just been excited for this Playday in particular because we have some really big matchups.
Yeah, I think excited is a word that we've used pretty much throughout this entire tournament, but tonight we can only stress it even more. If you guys want to stay up to date with all of the action, of course, you can on all of the Rainbow Six ANZ socials that are on screen now. If you jump onto Twitter, you can also have your say on who you think will win tonight. All right, let's dive into it, Raven. What are we expecting tonight? Because there are some big matches, aren't there?
Yeah, well, there's some big names on the board tonight. Wildcard and LFO, obviously the two most notable, but they're up against two opponents that are both on the rise, so to speak, being LFO for Wildcard, LFO the dark horse in the tournament, and then Sinister, also a team that is really on an upward trajectory since Pro League Season 11.
Well, of course, it's important that we have a look at the standings and see where all these teams line up heading into tonight. And of course, Wildcard, one of those teams playing tonight, currently sitting first. Let's make our way down, Raven, and explain why these teams are where they are.
Yeah, well, Okami have had a 50-50 style kind of opening to their Six Masters. They are there in second place, but they have lost a couple of maps and had some really close ones as well. Elevate, who we will see tonight, did lose a map to LFO, which is Wildcard's opponent. And that does add a bit of spice to that, seeing as Wildcard haven't quite lost a map yet. But pretty much all of these teams have made a really strong case that they are quite capable for pushing towards that top 4 positioning. Team Ferox last night had a massive series against Okami, ended up coming out on top in that second map. Really is just the poor, unfortunate little Kanga there at the bottom. They are in struggle street at the moment.
Yeah, poor Kanga not having the best of seasons. Haven't even managed to win a map yet, the only team yet to do so. But hey, still plenty of action to come. I'm sure they'll be able to bounce back. But again, looking ahead at tonight's matches, they're going to have a big impact on the standings, aren't they? We've seen already a lot of these matches being extremely impactful. And here are those games for tonight. First up, Wildcard, LFO, Raven. This one is going to be a cracker.
It really is. I'm super excited for what LFO might bring out for us because there's 2 weeks in a row now where they've taken a map off high-performing teams. So we're talking Elevate in week 1. They beat them 7-2 on Clubhouse. And then Okami, week 2, they beat them 8-7 on Villa. So granted, that was very close. But they showed some really great performance there. And now they've just got another tough opponent ahead of them in Wildcard. And I don't know, we were talking to Enigma earlier and he seemed pretty pumped.
Well, talking about being pumped, Elevate versus Sinister will follow later tonight. And I am very excited as well for that one. Again, all these teams so close. It's going to be so exciting. And look, I can't wait to jump into it.
Yeah, and I think the really exciting thing about that second series is that Sinister are this climbing team. They've had really good form ever since the break in Pro League Season 11, where they were struggling initially, but they've just been going from strength to strength. And now this is a really big opportunity for them to prove that they have made leaps and bounds. And if they take a map off Elevate, that's a massive statement.
Well, they're currently first in the standings. It is, of course, Wildcard. Let's have a look at the roster they'll be bringing tonight. Keep in mind, there is an addition to the graphic. Flux down the bottom. Raven, explain who he is and what he brings to the team.
Flux is one of the support staff members on Wildcard. Of course, the other is Silex that you would have seen quite frequently in the post-game interviews. That's what that addition is there. But really, let's not beat around the bush here, guys. We want to talk about Ethan. After the week that he had last week, he was named the Snowball Esports MVP of last week. He had a huge game in the tough series against Ferox. It was a 7-5, 8-7 series wildcard, getting both of those. But Ethan dropped a massive 20 bomb in that second game that really pulled wildcard through.
Well, they've made a name for themselves already. Let's see what they can bring to the table tonight. It is, of course, LFO. And again, Enigma has been added here to the lineup, and he is the coach/manager of the team. Who can we keep an eye on for tonight's action, Raven?
So consistently for LFO, really the keep the eye on player is Mims. He had a really big week 1. In fact, he was the MVP for Snowball Esports in week 1 of Six Masters. So this is the 2 current MVPs in terms of the first 2 weeks. Going face to face here, 100% keep an eye on Mims because he's had a massive impact for LFO, and he's proven that he can play consistently.
Yeah, and I guess going into this matchup, we're definitely sort of envisioning it to be a little bit of a David versus Goliath, but both teams definitely have big standout players that if they turn on or turn up here, my oh my, this is gonna like go from 0 to 100 really quickly.
Yeah, and I think at the start of the season, a lot of people were writing LFO off. They were just the 8th seed team that came in through open quals. They hadn't played this level before, but back-to-back weeks now, they've shown up. And like last week against Okami, they had some difficulties one way or another on the second map in Cafe, but they still had some really, really good rounds. They've shown a lot of promise, and really you can't write them off so severely anymore. It's a completely different story.
Well, of course, the map veto takes a massive part of how these teams approach these matches. Let's have a look at what the teams will be banning out first. Of course, they get 1 ban each in this best of 2 format. And there we go. LFO takeoff consulate, wildcard takeoff border. Nothing really unexpected coming from that.
Yeah, no, LFO banning consulate is a great ban. It's definitely a strong map for wildcard. They've proven that so far in 6 Masters, having a big win against Ferox last week. But also the wildcard ban of border, that is their insta ban. That is not a surprise at all. It's week in, week out. That is what wildcard will ban.
All right, well, let's roll through the picks. Each team, again, getting 1. It'll be LFO heading us to Theme Park and wildcard to Clubhouse. What can we expect heading into these games?
Well, this is a very interesting situation here. So Theme Park, wildcard played that in the first week against Sinister, and that was a 7-5 win to them. It was very close. It was a Sinister comeback. I think wildcard were up 5-1 at one stage, and then Sinister came back and it got really close. We haven't seen LFO really play it, so bit of a surprise. And wildcard picking Clubhouse, they've played pretty well on it so far in 6 Masters. They've played it twice. Of course, they haven't lost a map, so they won it both times. But LFO beat Elevate 7-2 on Clubhouse in the first week.
And this is actually pretty funny. I was playing some casual with Enigma, the coach of LFO, earlier today, and he asked me, he's like, "Hey guys, where do you reckon we're going to play tonight?" And I funnily enough, I said Theme Park and Clubhouse. So hey, I don't know. He didn't say anything after that. He didn't want to give anything away, but I'll take that one under my wing. Again, big question mark over Theme Park. It's a map that's got pretty limited play here in 8NZ, so we really don't have a lot to go off heading into that. I mean, Wildcard is one of the teams that has played it though, so they have some form.
Yeah, they've shown something, and that's obviously an opportunity for LFO. They can go back and look at that VOD, see some of those strategies. Being a new map, you would expect there's maybe not as much of depth in terms of strategy that these teams would have. So that could be something that works against Wildcard. And given LFO have proven time and time again, they do their homework. They had some really great counter bans against Okami that helped them a lot to get that first map on Villa. I think Wildcard could find it tough in that first map.
And I don't think the second map's going to be really easy for them either, because LFO managed to take down Elevate on that very map. I think, was it 7-2, 7-3? It was a dominant performance. Mims absolutely popping off. So look, LFO, I mean, obviously I'm going to be a little bit biased. I mean, I picked LFO in my picks. So look, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not at all any bias towards them. You know, I want them to get up for my picks, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, you and I are polar opposites in terms of our predictions, because I've backed Wildcard to go the 2-0, but I think that really demonstrates just how this could play out. It really could be a 2-0 in either favor here. Looking at this for face value of these maps, LFO definitely have a good chance on Theme Park. They clearly have something up their sleeve, given that it was their map choice. And then Clubhouse is also a big strength for them. So I guess you could say, as long as they're showing up, there's no reason why they couldn't get the 2-0. But on the other end of the scale, Wildcard are such a strong team, and they're showing week in, week out with 6 Masters that they're building strength as they go. So on the other hand, yeah, there's no reason why they couldn't get a 2-0.
And I think there's one theme that we can probably continue with throughout this matchup. It's probably going to be innovation. Because of Theme Park being such a new map, it has a really broad spectrum of what you can bring to it, because the meta hasn't really been set in stone. LFO already, as you mentioned, have proven that they are willing to do their homework and innovate. Wildcard as well, a team that's pretty structured. So I'm expecting it's going to be a clash of the minds, really, heading into this first map. How much prep are these teams done, and what are they going to try and bring to the table to outsmart their opponent?
Yeah, and something that I think will be the biggest hurdle for LFO is going to be the mid-game or mid-round adaptations. That's something that Wildcard has always been really strong at. So they're going to be continuously adapting to what LFO throw out at them. And if LFO fail to keep up with that part of the game, that's where I think Wildcard will take the advantage and start to run away a bit.
Well, Raven and I are a little bit torn on who we think will take the series. Let's bring up the community poll and see what you guys at home think. And it will be a wild card by a significant margin, probably a little bit more than I would have expected. But again, they've got the org backing, they've got the name, and look, they're first in the standings. So
yeah, I think there's a lot of reasoning behind why there would be so much favor into Wildcard. As you touched on, they are first in the standings. Very well known. Everybody would have seen them play at Six Invitational quite recently. Tokoname Pro League Finals. They've had that international experience. LFO, they don't have that org backing. They've come out of open qualifiers. So I think a lot of people are still very skeptical of the LFO performances, but part of me feels like that's what they thrive on.
the one number that really sticks out to me is the 9% for the draw. I was expecting that to maybe be a little bit higher, because if Wildcard don't win a map, I'm probably not fully expecting LFO to take both maps. It'll probably result in a draw, especially with Wildcard being able to bounce back and bring those adaptations for the second map. So I don't know. I'm just saying the draw maybe not getting as much love as it probably could have.
I definitely think a draw is a high possibility. LFO are going to have some interesting stuff on Theme Park, no doubt. It is their map pick. And in previous weeks on their map picks, they have brought out some really interesting strategies. The big one that comes to mind was last week on Villa against Okami, 7-7, so final round of overtime. They hadn't played that living library bomb site on Villa, and they pulled it out. It was a total pocket strat, and it was a really innovative strat. Devin and I were both marveling at it, and it worked. It got them the win. So something that Wildcard are going to have to keep an eye out for.
I guess talking about strategy, of course, we know where we'll be heading for this series. Let's start diving into Theme Park a little bit. It's a map that hasn't been in the competitive pool for very long. As I mentioned, there's a lot of room for movement. We did see Wildcard and Sinister clash on this match earlier in Six Masters 2020. Is there anything we can take out maybe from that match and heading into sort of this one tonight?
It's still pretty hard to read exactly where things are developing with Theme Park, because that really was the first play of it at this level for us here in ANZ. So there isn't a whole lot of depth. It did end up leaning to be defender-sided, which I was a little disappointed about, because a lot of the international level play that I've seen on Theme Park has actually been a bit 50-50. There's even been some matches that I watched where it was more attacker-sided. So I'm curious to see what develops in terms of who are getting the rounds tonight. I feel like it's probably still going to favor the defense a little bit, but we will find out really soon, guys.
Yes, we will. It's Wildcard taking on LFO. The map is Theme Park. It's the first in the series this evening. Let's jump straight into the action. I am super, super keen for this one. Let's see what these teams will bring to the table as we enter the ban phase. What sort of bans can we expect on a map like this, Raven?
Something to do with hard breaching. So Thatcher, Maverick, there we go. There's the Thatcher. Maverick or Thermite is also really important, because particularly with Throne Room, but it's the same on other sites as well, you really need to be getting particular walls open. They're really critical to your attacks, because otherwise there's a lot of real bad funnel points through doorways. So hard breaching is quite a prevalent thing needed on attack here.
Ying will be the second attacking ban, an operator that hasn't really been getting a lot of love recently. Of course, recently buffed, then slightly nerfed again, still in a strong position in the teams. More often than not, electing not to deal with her as we enter the defensive bans. Mute will actually lead the way, so pretty interesting one there from LFO. Maybe trying to break apart that Mute Mozzie combo.
Yeah, it helps too that Thatcher's been banned, because that's one strength of Mute, or something that adds to the strength of Mute, is the fact that it's really hard to clear when there's no EMP grenade. So getting that off the board means that it is going to be a bit easier to attack. So that could be LFO saying, hey guys, we're on attack first. What's going to make it easier for us? We want to be able to get our drones places. We want to be able to gather that intel, and we can't do that easy if there's Mute up. So I like this ban from them.
Mirror to end proceedings, a ban that Wildcard often lean on, not wanting to deal with her mirror windows. Interested to see what the first side of choice will be here. Of course, Wildcard are starting on the defense. Looks like Bunked AK will be the first site of choice. Maybe a slight departure from what we might expect, at least from the very early meta on this map, where Throne Room seemed to be the place to be, but Wildcard elected to do it their way.
I was going to say, if that Montaigne is stuck, that could be an interesting strat, but oh, actually we're getting the 60 onto the Nook. See what Sogs has up his sleeve with that one. Wildcard probably not expecting that at all. Might be a nice little pocket strat coming out of LFO really early on the map here.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by
Well, when I was playing with Enigma earlier today, he was boasting about some of the spicy stuff they might be bringing tonight for the LFO lineup. Some of their strategies could be quite interesting. And look, going to theme park, that's one thing. Bringing a Nook in competitive, that's another. An operator that really doesn't see a lot of play, extremely niche and required some thorough planning. So it's very interesting, I think, to follow Sogs this round and see what he can accomplish.
Definitely going to come down to some of the intel gathering from Wildcard, which is what Nook countered, but of course you have to be careful. There are certain tells when she moves through the map. So if she walks through wire or sprints or in certain animations, she will shutter on a camera. So you just have to be keeping a solid eye out, and that's where the element of surprise works in favor of Nook because you're not paying that depth of attention.
Slog's already using his ability to make sure that those default cameras don't spot him, so it seems LFO are committed to trying to keep Sogs deep in their pockets at the moment and only revealing him when really necessary. I'm trying to envision where he's going to push, but it's really hard. I can't quite put my finger on exactly what he's going to do here.
Yeah, it looks like he wants to be able to take this top arcade and push in through straight to site, potentially, but Diesel's holding quite a strange little angle there. If they don't drone that out, well, that's going to be counter-surprised onto Sogs. But no, actually, he's rotated away, Guz. Still not really indicating where he's going to go. But you would have to think by now, Wildcard would have heard the FMG9 opening that top arcade window. So potentially he has given himself away now.
I was thinking the exact same thing, Raven. Great minds think alike. Sounds quite unique in this game and can definitely reveal a lot about who you're playing. Meanwhile, the rest of LFO looking to push initiation, a common choke point that has developed on this map as Wildcard try to push these players back. Emo Rin on the smoke still with 3 smoke babes in hand. Just trying to waste as much time as possible.
One thing that's standing out for me now is this is basically what we saw strategy-wise from Wildcard against Sinister in week 1. They really want to contest the horizontal push here. It's generally how you would try and take towards bunk daycare. Some teams will favor Cafe, but strategically you want a lot of map control. And that's what pushing from that side from the map across will get you. And LFO are just pushing straight into it and going deep here. This is really interesting map space taken by Angmo, and it might work out for him here. That C4 is not going to hit the mark. He's done some damage, but he's pretty trapped.
Trying to find some safety in the smoke, but he will be taken down. That's Emo Rin getting the first kill on the board for his team this evening. That over-aggression from Angmo was punished. Mim's not really in a position to refrag it. Keep in mind, he has the diffuser in hand, and LFO now stalled out with only 45 seconds left. But there's Sogs. He's made his way up arcade. He's found 2. So the knock paying off there. Wildcard just completely unaware that he's pushed up those stairs. Hills will finish that down player, leaving it now in a 3-on-3 as Ethan picks up 1. 30 seconds on the board.
The other players were taken low as well from that aggressive play from Angmo. There was 3 players, in fact, that were one-shot. Emo Rin is the last of those 3 alive. It's going to be a lot on the shoulders of Ethan here as he's got the solid gun, he's got the HP. He's going to have to be able to find at least 1 pick to keep Wildcard close to this. The time is definitely helping them. They're going to have to funnel through into side. Emo gets 1 as he's traded out. Ethan finds another, but he can't get the last Wildcard. Oh, he does actually. They traded Guz. That means that Wildcard will get that round. That was unbelievable.
Well, there was a lot to digest then. In the very first round, we had Sogs flank up arcade and really give his team that fighting chance. And then there was only 10 seconds left. LFO forced to send it, and they almost did. But as you mentioned, they traded, so that does default it to a defender win because they prevented the bombs from being disabled.
Wow, that was a really strange way to end the round, but a really good round from LFO. They did not get too bullied by that roam. Angmo, while it was a little aggressive of him to push up into initiation, he did a lot of damage with his gun. As I was saying, he tagged 3 players down to 1 shot, which really enabled LFO in those final moments to be able to just bust onto site and actually have a fighting chance.
Wow. That round couldn't have been much closer. Definitely felt from the majority of it that Wildcard were in control, but that pocket strat from LFO of the Nook so close to really crumbling their stronghold. Sure, Wildcard will be a little bit wary of that now. Of course, LFO electing not to bring that operator on this occasion.
New feet up.
So they don't have to be quite as wary of unexpected flanks.
10 seconds left before insertion.
Looks like they've done their homework pretty well, or at least their predictions are on point so far, because they've brought 3 hard breaches. And it's for Armory, which is notoriously terrible if you can't get walls open. Makes it really tough to attack, and they should not have too much of an issue getting some stuff done, given they've got those 3 hard breaches. So the Maverick is probably going to be the most important, because if you can't get those walls open with his Kaid charges, Thatcher isn't on the board, he's not going to help you. There's really going to be a lot of pressure on Nasty to get something done nice and early.
Of course, Emo in the Soul Deny. He still has 2 claws in hand. He'll be trying to juggle those. 2 claws across the 3 main walls. There's one on the north, one on the west, and one on the east. Surrounding that throne room site. Definitely a hot point of contention throughout this round. Isn't that funny though? Emo is currently the only player on site.
And that does work. You know, with this site, it's really important to hold vertical control, because what teams will try to do, they'll try and take across to office there, on the northwest side, and then they'll try to take the yellow stairs wall, call it that, and so in towards Armory. And you want to be holding that vertical control as long as possible. But this is also really key here. If Nasty is able to get that, oh, he did get it just in time. That's going to put a lot of pressure on Emo in now. So Wildcard are going to have to maybe rethink about getting somebody back to site.
Of course, that wall made soft now, blown open. Mims using one of his impact lifelines. Wildcard now are beginning to make their way back towards side, or at least Diesel on the Valkyrie here. Now the hole's also been made on the north side wall, so there's not too many places that can be safely contested on site, but Pat will find a second for his team. Just when LFO seem to be getting into gear, Wildcard denying that entry.
Yeah, Wildcard just holding still there. Diesel coming back at a good time as well. And there's backup on site, so LFO can't just yeet into throne room and try to get a plant down, not easily at least. They're pretty spread out on this attack. Wildcard is on the defense. Not sure exactly what LFO's target is. That's a great shot from Angmo though to get Ethan. That's an important player off the board for Wildcard. Does give LFO a bit of a shining light now.
Mims will make his way through, but he will be shut down by Emo Rin, leaving up to Angmo and Hills. Just Hills now.
Attackers
As
recover
Pat
the bomb
shuts
diffuser.
his teammate down. He tries to find the first and does. Emo Rin taken down. There's about 50 HP, 25 seconds to work with here. Wary of the flank, but it looks like Wildcard pretty well positioned on site. And an air jab goes up above. Hills gets the sound cue, misses the shot though, and Wildcard will get their second round in a row.
I was on this site against Sinister that we saw Geo actually get an ace in that first week. Not so much the case this time, but Wildcard looking pretty strong for a majority of that round. LFO did struggle, they lost players, but they were getting some stuff done. I like that the Maverick got the throne wall open nice and early. It's a shame that he was fragged out. I believe if he stayed alive, LFO really would have had a better chance, because they could have put a lot more pressure on some of these other walls. That would have made it tough for Wildcard.
Of course, Wildcard have won 2 rounds straight, so they'll have to send themselves to their tertiary site. In this case, it'll be Initiation Office. Now's a great opportunity for LFO to try and get a round on the board. Proving difficult so far. I guess this really raises the question, how many attacks do you need to try and win on this theme park attack?
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, obviously, the answer would be as many as possible.
6.
I'd say 2 to 3, honestly. Like, if it was me, 2 to 3 attacks, I'd be relatively happy with, because it keeps you really in touch with the other team. And I think for a lot of teams, generally, they're going to be feeling quite comfortable, more so on the defense sides. So if I'm LFO, if they can at least get this first half, I'd say worst case scenario 2-4, but if they manage to get it to be a 3-3, then I would really feel confident going into that second half.
10 seconds to go. 5 seconds to insertion.
No real standouts so far for either team. Emo Rin in the previous round quite effective on the
Attackers
Kaid.
dropped the bomb
Yes, that
diffuser.
initial
Attackers
C4
recovered the bomb diffuser.
onto the Maverick was a little bit delayed. He did end up netting the kill, and using that TCSG was able to hold off any sort of push. LFO on the other end, having a few more struggles in the frag department. Hills though, a strong start, going 4 and 2, and approaching the seam on the gridlock. An operator that doesn't get a whole lot of play. We saw a little bit last night, but overall not much. Frogs shuts down Diesel. The one player from Wildcard you expect to be alive late in the round is now taken out.
Yeah, it is an early pick on a Diesel. So far, he hasn't had too much of an
A bomb has
impact
been located.
in how this has played out. Something that's really great about the top 4 sites on Theme Park is you don't really have to hold them dramatically different. It's very similar in how you hold bunk daycare and then initiation office. So it does make it pretty easy to adapt to. That's an unfortunate death there to Nasty. Again, he's the first one off the board for LFO. Make it a little tricky for them, but they do still have to back up Thermite. Ethan's going to get aggressive. He is, in fact, refragged, and actually, Hills has been saved by that. Can be revived. He's going to have 20 HP, but at least he will have a chance to shoot some bullets.
Mims does revive the down gridlock, making it a 4-on-3 LFO with that man advantage. Ethan so close to getting a 2k, but in the end, only inflicting a little bit of damage. Hills as well, still with full utility, and he can probably place that around the map quite safely. There we go, he's already used one of his track stingers. The rest of his team progressing now through control room. As again, we enter this choke point at initiation.
If they are trying to get the plant at initiation, I fear that they're going to end up just funneling too hard through this doorway. We see a player there playing in daycare. I believe it is Imarin. Or is that Bunks? I always get those sites mixed up. But either way, Imarin in that position, he can hold this quite easily and really hinder the plant going down. So LFO are going to have to think about how they're going to deal with that. And they've only got 45 seconds left, so it's not like any massive dramatic rotates are possible. But that's one way to deal with it. Angmos is going to shoot him in the face. Maybe getting a little aggressive again, though. They funnel through, but they make it a 3 versus 1. And actually, guys, they end the round through that. It's a great little explosion. End it nice and quickly for LFO.
A swift completion to that round. Slogs sweeping around late once again. This time not on the Nook, but the Ash does net him a few kills in that round. 2-1 as we complete potentially a quarter of this match. And I think that's probably a result LFO would have liked. At least try and get them on their tertiary site. Wildcard now able to go back to their primary pick, and that will of course be Bunk and Daycare. We saw that in round number 1. Wildcard only just scathing through, but we did see LFO really have some struggles again with that initiation push.
Yeah, I mean, Wildcard really scraping through is the right way to say it. They won it on a trade on the final kill, which was a 1v1.
Defenders, protect
So
your bombs from being
quite
defused
lucky
by
in the end. It
attackers.
looked like a pretty decent attack from LFO. Losing a couple players a bit early set them up to be not a great position into that final stage. They can get a better take on this side of the map here in towards initiation and office. They're going to give themselves a lot more time to make something work with side. I think that really is going to be the key. Otherwise, they're going to have to try and make something work with pushing a different direction, more so from Cafe.
10 seconds left before insertion.
Ethan currently going 4-3, having a little bit of a quieter night so far compared to last week, where he went absolutely massive in that series.
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb. Attackers
Almost got a
drop
2k in the final round, or the
Attackers
last round
recover the
rather,
bomb diffuser.
where he went for that run out, but was shut down. Does seem like Wildcard are willing to give him the license to almost just do what he wants to an extent. Chuck him on a throw speed, let him run around, cause some chaos here for LFO, who are really trying to counter-aggress them so far. Ethan can really start to show up here. LFO could find themselves in a little bit of hurt. Hill's actually pre-firing Ethan's exact location. That could have been very awkward if he managed to hit that.
Awkward indeed. Ethan would have been not too happy if he was to die to that random hit fire through the window. But luckily for him, he didn't. There are actually 4 players of Wildcard now, actually. Imarin's going to rotate back, but there were 4 players around the initiation office side. That is, again, the great thing about the top 4 of Theme Park is it's no trouble at all just to rotate between initiation And the bunks daycare, it's quite a small floor. 4 ways to rotate at least. This is good progress from LFO already. They're going to be starting to put a lot of pressure here onto initiation, which was, as you said, the choke point in previous rounds.
Seen essentially all of the teams that have played this map so far really struggle with this push. Last time this was played against Wildcard and Sinister, Sinister in particular having some struggles pushing this doorway. So many angles you can be watched from if you go for the entry. And if you add that shield into the mix as well, it only makes things more challenging. LFO desperately trying to find an early pick here, at least clear some of this utility. Gathering some intel, of course, Mute was taken off the board by them, so using drones to full effect, but that doesn't always equate to kills. And we're almost at a minute to go already, Raven. This has really ticked down quick.
They're trying to bank so much utility into this, but there's 2 magnets that I've seen and 2 ADSs protecting single shield. So they're really going to have to be burning almost all of their utility just to be able to get past that point. I really think at this stage, which is what it looks like we're seeing, probably not worth trying to push it as they are. And they're going to have to readapt, but they haven't given themselves much time to do so. There are only 45 seconds left in the round. Wildcard's still holding very strong positions for this attack. Mims has repelled onto these south windows in towards break room though. Not going to find anything. Hills finally gets the entry, leaving us 30 seconds left in the round for something to happen.
Slogs has been downed again, and he's tried to go for a flank, but this time shut down at yellow stairs. Diesel will go over to him and finish off that kill, maybe. No. There we go. All right, so Slogs is taken out. Mims as well in the process. So now it's a 3-on-4, but Hills gets his second for the round, and this might be winnable again. 10 seconds left, and it's up to LFO to be explosive. They almost did it in round number 1. I don't think this one's going to go their way. Surely not. 5 seconds left as they try and enter in towards the side. Diesel gets one more. He gets another, but Hills gets his triple. They can't get the plant down, however, and Wildcard will secure that round. A little bit more convincing than the first time. LFO just getting stalled out very hard there. Again, over at initiation.
Yeah, I think they just invested too much into it. And one thing that I'm quite surprised about is, I mean, this mute ban seems to be working out really well for them. We saw a lot of drones going through. But those drones maybe are too focused on just seeing those positions and not exploring what utility is there. If they had seen 2 ADSs and seen the magnets that Wildcard had protecting that spot, I really think they would have decided a lot earlier that it's just not the play to try and deal with that, because they would have had to use so much utility just to clear out that shield and clear out that position. But those players for Wildcard still had some corners they can tuck into an initiation. It wouldn't have given them the control that they needed. So that's something that they'll need to learn on from here, and an interesting 6th pick for Hills onto the Kali.
Attackers need to locate and defuse
Kali, of
bombs.
course, an operator touted as an Thatcher alternative, but many teams opting not to bring her. Loadout, not the most comfortable of picks. Of course, her primary being a sniper. Secondary likely being the C75. Neither amazing at getting fragged, but I have full faith in Hills. I'm expecting him likely to play more passively and try and aid in opening these walls. They can time that gadget right against Emo Rin's Electro Claws that can make for a very interesting round where LFO can get a lot of these site walls open and they might be able to cramp Wildcard up.
5 seconds left.
You mentioned the Kali secondary. I'm pretty sure I saw on Twitter this week or recently, I believe it was Bikini Body. He said that the pistol is the play. He said just try it. So I'm curious to see whether Hills is trying it. I haven't personally tested out that pistol, but the video he posted looked pretty good. See whether it works out. But her gadget, of course, is going to be the main reason for bringing her on this attack, right? They're going to be wanting to deal with those Electric Claws. And with no Thatcher, Kali is the next simplest option.
I've seen as well some people propose that maybe Kali as a secondary should get one of the primary weapons, like a P90 for example. Could be interesting, could make her a bit more comfortable to pick. We'll have to wait and see how Hills goes with her though, as Slugs will enter in towards Cash playing the Nomad.
Bomb has been located.
Wildcard again electing to roam quite heavily. A lot of utility and
Bomb
reinforcements
located
placed
by
above.
attackers.
Pat and Ethan will be tasked with holding initiation quite aggressively on this occasion. Ethan in particular, maybe trying to find a quick entry.
And this is the thing for Wildcard, is they don't really need to peek any of this. They just need to delay the time from LFO. And that's a jump pad that's going to delay a lot of time there from Pat. All the way on the other side in Arcade. That's Angmo. That's an important operator as well. That's the Thermite off the board. So really putting a lot of pressure onto Nasty now as the Maverick.
And that's pretty much just made that Kali pick null and void. Maverick doesn't need the wall to have those electro claws taken off, whereas Angbo did. So heal's now almost made redundant unless he uses his ability maybe to clear any shields or other utility placed around the map. Wildcard given free roam again above. No real pressure. The drones come out, but again, no one to follow up on that. And we do hear some sniper shots raining out. Hills inside of Gong over near the Dragon entrance. It looks like they might just force a vertical take of sorts, or a horizontal take of sorts, rather.
Yeah, I think at this stage they're going to have to cut their losses with that vertical control. Looks like they do have some work done on that thrown wall, which they got last time as well. And now they just have to work out flushing Emo out of that position on the west side of throne there, which is what was really the bane of their existence. That Kali is actually going to get destroyed though by Geo. Not really having a massive effect on the round. And with only 30 seconds to go now, guys, it's a 5 versus 3. Not too sure how LFO are going to go with this.
Well, Nasty's actually made his way in towards side. He's going for the plant. Wildcard don't really seem to be aware of it, but one kill will come out, another in return, and now it will be a 1-on-4 post plant as Nasty does manage to stick it. He's going to have to hold out here for 40 seconds. Very tall order, a lot of angles looking his way. Nasty will get shots on one, but eventually will be taken down. Pat getting 3 for the round. And yes, LFO, they made their way into side eventually, but didn't really have the processes in place to actually get that plant down with cover, and Wildcard will make them pay.
I felt like LFO actually might have been able to make that work a little better. They had some players that could have just cut those rotates. I mean, once that C4 missed, they just had to cover the cross across that room, because it's not like the throne really protects you as you come across from Armory. But we saw both of them peeking on the sides of the throne trying to get those picks, and they just got fragged out by Wildcard from a distance. Whereas they really could have just played a little bit more passive at the breach, potentially, or from Dragon. Not sure. I really felt like LFO could have done a better job in that post plant. Anyway, they're doing okay, but they're just getting stalled out so much, and it means that they're having very little time to have these late round decisions.
It's not all doom and gloom for LFO just yet, of course. This will be the final round of the half, and they have an opportunity to even out that scoreline, or at least close down that gap rather, 4-2. Initiation in office was the last side that LFO managed to successfully attack. No reason why they can't replicate that again here. Sure, if they win this round, they'll definitely favour themselves to bring back that deficit on the defense, because it has proven so far to be very, very challenging to push some of these choke points. And unless Wildcard really brings something to the table, I'm expecting them to experience some pretty similar issues.
10 seconds left.
Will be interesting to see how Wildcard's attack does pan out here. LFO, of course, have this last round to try and get one more on the board and make it a little bit more comfortable for them. Hills is on the Twitch this time, so of course not going back to that Kali. He is the top fragger for LFO as well, so maybe a bit of a strange decision to put him on the Kali. Didn't give him a great opportunity to have an impact in that last round.
Hills on the Twitch, a pretty interesting pick there. Twitch falling out of the meta a little bit there, and still is out of the meta, I would say. The F2 was nerfed, the drone reworked. It is quite good at you clearing utility, but the fact that you need to get so close and it's so exposed, and the defenders can easily see it, does make that quite challenging. I guess Wildcard may not be expecting the Twitch to be on the board necessarily. So they might not really have it in the forefront of their minds to be keeping an eye out for it, but I don't think they'll have too many issues in denying it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no Mozzie and there's no mute, so that Twitch drone can freely move around. It's more so that Wildcard will be able to shoot it. And again, they're playing in pretty similar situations to what they had when they were trying to attack Bunk Daycare. having burned so much utility, that took a lot of flash grenades and a lot of those concussions, or both of those concussions from Sophia. And they just cleared the shield. There's still 2 players in this room. It's not like it's a freebie.
Emery narrowly missing those shots there as Angmo gets that wall open. A wall that doesn't often get opened with ease, but on this occasion, pretty good time management from LFO. Ethan from below though, it's gonna be big. The C4 comes out. Will he net a kill? Yes, he will. That's the thermite taken out, but Angmo had already done his job. Getting that wall open, Mims will follow that up onto Pat. Tries to find one more through the wall. Doesn't quite hit it though. Looks like Hills is rotated to make sure that Ethan doesn't rotate up the stairs. Nade will come out from Nasty meanwhile. Again, they're trying to clear more of this utility. Under a minute now, and LFO is looking to kick this into gear pretty soon.
Ethan, though, trying to have something else to say about it as he finds Sogs. Mims has made his way into initiation behind this wall, which he is safe from wall bangs and safe from an angle in bunk. And he's now getting this plant down. Not sure if Wildcard are going to be able to deny this. In fact, it is stuck. This is a strong position for LFO to be in a 3 versus 3. As Mims gets a triple. Great shot to get the 2 players peeking. And that means this is looking pretty good now for LFO, guys.
Geo in the post playing it to 1-on-3 as Nasty will take him on at the top of Dragon. Geo gets on top of that one, but Mims will get one more for the round. A great trade from him, and Mims. He steps up when it matters. What a crazy 2K that was. The spray transfer on that. I have no idea if he actually saw them both. He may have just, but man, that was a crazy shot. It almost looked like when they got that plant down and ran out, they were both going to die here. But Mims, wow. That was most impressive. And look, 4-2 after an attacking half on this map. I think LFO will be pretty happy with that.
Look, it definitely could have been worse, but also could have been better. I think it's really important to point out there was a couple of rounds where they looked pretty decent on their attacks. It's just that Wildcard were able to bring it back. And most importantly, the first round, I really felt like it kind of felt like it was more an LFO round than a Wildcard round. So a 3-3, in my eyes, would have done justice to that half. But now it's a big test here. How can Wildcard attack? Because that seems to be where the struggle is going to be. And this is LFO's map pick. So you would expect that they've got some pretty interesting strats coming out here on this defense.
LFO electing not to bring the double projectile, denial, in the Jaeger and the Bomai, just bring the first. That'll be Hills. Playing him, currently going 8-3. Pretty solid performance from him so far this evening. Mims playing the Echo as well. Again, the one player on this team you want to live in those last second scenarios. He's proven time and time again, as he did in that last round. He has the nerve when it matters. Very, very intrigued to see how Wildcard are going to try and counter this.
Going to be tough for them. I have seen some really interesting things with their setup. I mean, one thing was that what they were doing with that initiation wall. Didn't quite get to see how it finished up, but they were definitely shooting a lot of it out, which isn't common when you're holding this side at least. Here, getting a lot of information on this intel. He does actually see a Yokai drone there as well. They're able to get that nice and early. That's really, really important there for Wildcard, but he's going to run away. He's probably giving it to his teammates. They know about it.
Diesel with the diffuser in hand. Playing the Habana. One of the strongest supports for not only his team, but the region as a whole. Strong history of fulfilling that role quite effectively. Time really starting to tick down. We do see Emery and Pat finally starting to make an entry, but they could encounter Hills quite quickly here, which might stall them out a little bit.
It's probably a great point to bring up too, that something that Wildcard have struggled with for a long time, that we have always called them out on, is just some really slow attacks. And they are just a methodical, thought process oriented team. And that just generally has made them attack a bit slower than normal. And it's been getting better with their additions of Pat and Geo. Those players both bring some nice aggression and confidence to their team. But right now, yeah, this is looking a little slow. Maybe they're just getting their info, deciding which way they want to push, because that is the trap that we saw at LFO, is that they decided too early they're going initiation, and there was so much utility to clear that just stalled them out for way too long.
Minutes ago now for Wildcard. More drones being expended here as they might try and squeeze from either side, or at least maybe even fully commit from Cafe. That's where the diffuser is. Again, Diesel still with it under his arm. We did see a late swing in one of these occasions from Sogs and LFO were attacking, but I'm not sure it'll work in this occasion. Nasty able to deny those Havana pellets on the wall, and the stall out is real at the moment. Wildcard really struggling to get this opening.
They haven't really been able to obtain any important control. I mean, they've got that Cafe position, but Nasty's doing a great job of just denying them being able to comfortably push out of that. He's trying to be pushed from below, and it's going to be really important that Ethan gets this pick. Geo does get the opening as Ethan takes out Nasty, so this is a good spot now for Wildcard.
15 seconds on the board, not a lot to work with here for the plant. They do have the man advantage, but Sogs wants to say that he gets a couple of kills, Hills as well, and now it's Pat and Geo. Pat forced to repel in, there's no time left. He will be taken down as he enters, and now it's Geo. He has the diffuser, but no time to work with, and LFO will hold off another classic Wildcard attack. It looked good for a little bit there, but I think again, time is their enemy.
Definitely time was something that wasn't working out well for them, but what I like is that the time they did stall out on was where they were deciding to push, or how they were deciding to push, whereas what LFO did was they defaulted to the classic take control, take initiation, clear across. Oh, there's lots of utility here, let's figure out how to clear that. So they spent a lot of time trying to clear utility, and that got them nowhere, whereas Wildcard spent a lot of time deciding where they're going to put or make that push happen, and then they got a couple of picks out of it. So they actually had that window of opportunity. It's just that LFO really tightened up, and they played that late round really well.
Another spicy 6 pick from Sogs in this round, going on to the vigil. So a big fan of the anti-intel operators. Of course, in the very first round, he 6-picked onto Nook. Netted himself a few kills on a flank. And Vigil, of course, an operator that plays that quite similarly, but on the opposite side. He'll be looking to try and disrupt as much time as possible. Again, one of the biggest enemies Wildcard face. Having a quick recap again of the kills. Hills the first to reach double digits here on the Jaeger. Great performance from him so far. Of course, he has some of the most experience of the team. Previously playing for Acme Association, for example. Actually competed in the last 6 Masters. So some good pedigree heading into 6 Masters 2020.
Just noticing Hills' death count as well of 3, given that LFO only won 2 of those first half rounds. I mean, that's pretty impressive that he was able to stay alive for the other ones. Usually the case. What I'm liking, or not liking in fact, from Wildcard is actually that they haven't brought a lot in terms of depth of hard breach, which is what they're going to need for Throne. There's 3 very important walls that you would usually try to get open, and they're banking a lot on Diesel's X-Kairos to get something happening. They're going to be trying to take this vertical control, use Imorin to open up some holes above Armory. So maybe they're not even going to bother with the barrels or the Throne wall at all. They're just going to try and take Yellow Stairs and just get that Armory clear so they can plant behind that pillar.
I guess interestingly as well, LFO actually not bringing any hard breach denial. I mean, we saw Imorin sticking the Kaid for Wildcard, but maybe LFO banking solely on impact grenades to deny any sort of hard breach, and if those X-Kairos pallets are placed low enough, those impacts rather won't really do a whole lot in disrupting that. Maybe trying to rely heavily on this flank game and roam game. I mean, we see Angbo roaming on a dock. Sog's actually, interestingly enough, in sight. So I don't know, maybe banking on the dock to go big here.
Oh, just seeing this site setup actually, they've got to rotate in through to barrels. So that means they are really banking on a heavy roam on that first floor, which is a really interesting way to play it. It's going to be important that they keep tabs on above as well, because Wildcard have that vertical control. They can retake barrels somewhat easy. Angmo is really going to be the X factor in terms of how that pans out. On your point of impact tricking, Guz, it's actually quite tricky to impact trick on this site because the ceilings are quite high, in fact, so you have to try and bank it off a sidewall. If you can't, well then it really just relies on your opponents placing that utility high on the wall.
After droning barrels, it does appear like Pat's given the call to push that side of the map, and in fact he will get the first kill there onto Angmo. That roaming dock no longer having an impact in this round. It appears as if the rest of LFO are now on site. So Wildcard need to try and pressure them. They have 30 seconds to do so. That is quite a healthy amount of time. Another drone enters site and will provide additional intel. LFO could find themselves in a bit of hurt, especially with that rotate being used against them. Oh no.
Oh, that nade was perfect from Emo in, giving them a bit of an eye in. As Ethan's also retaken barrels, so that's going to start to work against them. He got tagged up, but 5 versus 2. Looks like it should be a comfortable plan for them, but they're not expecting Mims on that angle. Ethan just walking straight into it. He's all up to the Echo here. He's the perfect operator to be alive at this stage. He might be able to get Yokai drone denial here, guys. It's very, very possible, but it's shot for a moment. That gets the plant secured, and now all Wildcard has to do is frag out Mims. That is what they do. Matter of seconds there, guys, and that could have been very different.
I almost thought Mims was going to do a Mims and clutch that one out, but the discipline from Wildcard proving too strong, and they will get that lead out again to a 2-round margin. Look, LFO definitely bringing something interesting there. That barrels rotate, not quite working out the way they would have liked it, particularly if Angmei being taken off first, but hey, I'm all for seeing innovative strats, and it did seem to throw off Wildcard a little bit because it wasn't your traditional push above, try and flush out initiation. It definitely posed some challenges for those attackers.
And ironically, I think what really was LFO's undoing, because they still had 4 players up on site with just under 30 seconds to go, but their little rotate into barrels, because they end up giving it up too freely, Ethan was able to come in and he got 1, maybe 2 picks from the side there, and that was just too crucial to lose at that stage. So see whether LFO are still sticking with that rotate. Maybe they're going to play around it a little bit different.
Interesting to see if LFO can try and
10 seconds remaining.
make up for the mistakes in that last round, try and
5 seconds left before insertion.
really give some of these anchors a fighting chance. Didn't feel like there was
Objective is to locate a bomb
much
and defuse
slowing them down. Slowing down the attackers, that is, away from sight. Again, it looks like that barrels wall will be left soft. Rotate likely to follow, I assume. Nasty on the shotgun wall. Do that work? Doesn't look like Alpha have really changed a whole lot on this occasion.
And it kind of surprises me because they would have had a good chance to see there that Wildcard are only bringing the Habana. So if you reinforce those 6 important walls in sight, well, then Wildcard really have to be selective with how they get in. And in that previous round, they didn't really open anything from what I could tell with the Habana. Maybe the maintenance wall, I didn't quite get a chance to see. But regardless, you're giving yourself the best opportunity to give them a funnel point for an entry through one of those doorways. And in fact, this is really good time management from Pat here to take office already. Definitely a concern for LFO.
I guess LFO did bring the bandit on this occasion, so that will be vital in helping deny that. And maybe having only 4 walls to deal with can make his life a little bit easier, but as you mentioned, it could definitely make Diesel's workload a little bit less. Time management for Wildcard looking a little bit better than usual at the moment. Good map control above. But again, Alpha not really looking to contest that. Hills, meanwhile, could be flanking up Arcade. Look like he might be going for a play potentially. And there we go. He's actually found himself all the way over a bunk. Hills could be on for a massive play here. It doesn't look like Wildcard are aware of his position. They've been prone to flanks in the past, and maybe Hills will be on for another here.
Even a drone right next to him, and he's just decided not to shoot it. He's going to try and stay quiet and tucked up in this corner. As you said, it's a matter of whether Wildcard push back here, or Hills might be able to push around and get a bit of a flank going on. They have been able to clear the utility on that yellow wall, so that means that Diesel will now get the opportunity to start opening it up. Have a lot of control there, so that's not going to be denied at all. Pat's finding those Yokais. He knows very well that there's one in that northwest corner. They're going to push into plant, and they've given themselves a lot more time now, given the access they have to site.
Hills still probing on the top floor, waiting for that perfect opportunity to go for a flank. He's a very patient man. Hasn't given away his position yet. Doesn't look like. Geo will get the first, and it's time for Hills to probably start moving very, very soon here before this round slips away. He's on the hatch above barrels. He could catch Ethan off. As Ethan now tries to push in, that smoke will delay him, and maybe that'll trigger Hills to go for the flank instead. He will continue to probe. There we go. He gets the first on to Emo Rin. Tries to maybe find a second as Wildcard will now need to scramble for sight. There's only 8 seconds on the board, and Diesel will attempt the plant. Is the denial there from LFO? There's 2 members alive. Can they find where he's planting? It doesn't look like they will. Pat will get one more for his team, and the Echo will be cleaned up. Pat going big there in the end for Wildcard, and they will secure that site 2 times in a row.
Yeah, some good attacks coming out of Wildcard, and I don't know, I'm still a little bit 50-50 on this LFO strat of giving them Barrel's wall. Just given that Wildcard are only bringing the Habana, I mean, they're getting access to yellow, but you're also opening yourself up to that late round position, and Ethan did get a kill from that. I also question whether Hills maybe should have just gone a little earlier, or just done something earlier, because it felt like, I'm pretty sure there was 2 kills gone before Hills really made his presence known. And he only really got 1 on that flank, and that was the Emo Rin kill above.
I guess that's always the golden question when you're roaming as Hills was. The question in the back of your mind being that player is always, when should I go? Because it's a bit like Murphy's Law. If you go too early, you're going to die. If you wait too late, then your team's going to lose the round. And it felt like that was sort of the position he was in. Maybe he could have gone earlier, but without the intel above, which he probably was lacking, he had to just go off, you know, game sense and maybe some sounds above. And when there were so many attackers there, it's always going to be a bit of a challenge. And look, in the end, it was too late. And LFO now losing that same site twice. It's starting to look a bit grim. Right when they started to, you know, have momentum going their way, 4-2 half, you know, it was happy days for them really, but now it's a different story.
Yeah, and look, it's an interesting strat what they're trying to pull off, and it's stalling out Wildcard a little bit. I think that's just the nature of the bomb site in itself. Wildcard are just dedicating to taking that yellow wall, bottom of yellow stairs wall, and that means they have to be able to take that top control. They need to do their due diligence and ensure that there's not roamers hiding in corners, setting up the flank watch. All that stuff takes time. And once they clear the utility and get it open, it's just natural that there's not much time left. But I just think the nature of the way the strat works for LFO, it doesn't help them when they're trying to sit on site, especially deep on throne side, because you can't deny where Wildcard are trying to plant from over there. So you have to be able to come deep, and that opens you up to that flank in from barrels, which both times Ethan's had some impact from.
Well, look, of course, that's the second time now that they've lost that site. They have the rehost currently to discuss where they're going to go for their 4th defense. What are you expecting? Often teams won't go to a site after losing it twice. You know, 3 times is often too many. I mean, maybe we'll see them head over to initiation. We did see Wildcard attempt that, but they actually lost it on both occasions. Those were the 2 rounds that LFO won on their attacks. Are we expecting an initiation hold for this next round?
Well, bunk daycare should be available again for them, so we might just see them go back there. They did win that on their first defense round. So if they do that, well, then they're only 2 rounds behind, and then that's where the tricky decision comes, is do they try Throne Armory again with a different strategy, or do they go initiation? We haven't seen their initiation, so who knows whether that really could be a viable option for them. Maybe they were really banking on the fact that they can get by with a strong bunk daycare and Throne Armory. Yeah, I'm not too sure what's going to happen for them, but I really do feel like that bunk daycare pick will be next.
And of course, keep in mind that Six Masters 2020, there are no draws. So LFO, whilst having their opponent on match point, are fighting to bring it to overtime. We were talking about this a little bit pre-broadcast. There have been a lot of draws in regulation, a lot of overtimes that have played out so far. And made for some pretty intense matches. Not saying, you know, this one's going to go that distance, but hey, we did see last night a similar scoreline being brought back by some of these teams, so it's not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, well, it actually was 6-3 on both maps for that Okami and Team Ferox match last night that you just referenced. So stage is set for another 6-3 comeback here. Could happen. Wildcard did almost lose to a comeback from Sinister when they played this particular map in the first week of Six Masters. As I said in the pre-show, I believe Wildcard were up 5-1 after their first half. And then Sinister brought it all the way back. I'm pretty sure it went to 5-5. And Wildcard broke ahead and ended up winning that 7-5. But that was pretty close. So far, LFO playing decent on the map. I really just feel like it's the last 2 defenses where there's been some pretty big errors and they haven't looked as strong as they've looked the rest of the map.
And I guess that's the concerning thing for LFO heading into that defense of the second half. That's when you're expected to start bringing these rounds back. They've only won the one in the second half. That was round number 7 where they defended Bunk. Losing those 2 rounds, that's starting to put the doubt in their mind that, hey, maybe we're not going to be able to bring this back. Maybe our defense isn't as strong on this map as we expected because it is their map pick. Keep that in mind. So if this starts to slip away, if they maybe lose this 7-3, then it starts looking rough again for this second match because it is a best of 2 series. And Wildcard might be able to pounce and get maximum points tonight.
Yeah, and so far, Throne and Armory, we don't have a whole lot of stats on Theme Park as it's still a very fresh map to the map pool. But from some of the accumulated stats I'd seen from other casters in the other regions, Throne and Armory had the highest win percentage. It wasn't necessarily the highest picked, but it definitely had the highest win percentage. So to lose it 2 times in a row, I think is pretty concerning for LFO. And maybe they've really underestimated how strong Wildcard are as a team based on how well they did against Elevate and Okami.
Well, we've definitely seen LFO bring some innovation to the table again, that Barrel's wall being open and a couple of other things, the Nookies earlier in the game, etc, etc. Let's take a step back and maybe think about what LFO might be doing wrong, because it seems like they're trying to bring some new stuff to the table and it's not really sticking at the moment.
I think one thing that they've kind of done wrong in those last 2 rounds at least, and I don't want to talk about it again too much with that barrels rotate, but overall, if you want to come out to the root issue, is it didn't look like they really adapted a whole lot. It really just looked like it was a repeat of the strat. They somewhat repeated the way they played it. I mean, Hills did manage to get upstairs. That was really the key difference. But other than that, I didn't notice anything that was too strange. And Wildcard actually really played into some time efficiency there. They looked at that. They said, okay, they're holding it the same. We know we can take top floor pretty easy. Let's just be efficient with our drones. We saw the IQ in there. I think it was Geo playing that. He was in office within 50 seconds at the start of the round. That's deep map control and the important map control that Wildcard want straight away. And so that puts so much pressure on LFO to have to delay so much time. And then, yeah, it just kind of fell apart.
Yeah, time efficiency has definitely been something that we've been critical of Wildcard, but it definitely felt in these last few rounds, they really started to ramp it up, and LFO, failing to adapt, did lose those last 2 rounds. As we jump back into the action, let's go, Raven. 6-3 the scoreline as we resume proceedings. Of course, keep in mind all the kills, assists and deaths will reset, so don't read too much into that for the rest of this map. But one thing to read into is Agmo is actually going to be bringing the Clash.
Yeah, that is an interesting difference. And look, they have gone Initiation Office. This is not a site that we've seen held just yet.
Before insertion.
Looking to maybe surprise Wildcard with that decision. And something that's changed for Wildcard is Ethan is now on the buck.
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
We've had word that the Clash actually was a 6-pick and the Buck from Ethan a 6-pick also. So Wildcard, unless they have droned out that operator on the defense during that preparation phase, they might be walking into a little bit of an unknown and will be faced by the Screaming Clash. Of course, quite an annoying operator to deal with if you have played against her, but I'm sure a professional team like Wildcard will be grinning at the opportunity to use their teamwork and kind of shut Angmo down.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is it's definitely counterable. That being said, one of the best operators to counter Clash is actually the Zofia, and they haven't brought that this time. They will have to maybe be a little more creative with how they counter it. They don't have an EMP to shut her down either, nothing to stun her. Capital's also a great counter that they don't have, so it could present some issues.
Pat again looking to gather really early intel and maybe some ground. Kills. He's over towards Arcade. Angmo as well, already making his way inside a cafe. Has to be careful he doesn't get too aggressive there. Only one exit out of that room. Unless they've blown a rotate over at the top of yellow stairs. It doesn't look like they have though. And he will back off. Does look like LFO trying to take the fight to Wildcard as each team really trying to fight for ground. Ethan has actually made his way into barrels below. So LFO will need to be careful of that skeleton key getting to work from underneath the objective.
Interesting to see that Wildcard are taking a very different approach to attacking this. They are going to get that opening pick onto Nasty as well, which is a big one on the smoke. Has some time delay off the board. But they're really attacking it from a different angle. They're going on those break windows. They're clearing out in towards the west side there, and they're going to try and take initiation from that side as opposed to control.
Diesel gets one more for his team, and it's already a 5 on that 3. Wildcard really yet to explode onto site. Diesel is free to rappel in though. He has the diffuser in hand as well. Uses that rotate at upper arcade to get a better angle. Now in to daycare. Of course, they still need to try and get past this clash. Grenades will come out to try and disrupt Angmo, but he's able to just walk back from that one. Mims in sight as well. As Wildcard try and find this opening.
Not much time either, guys. 20 seconds to go, so Wildcard are going to have to get on side. Ethan finds an opening there under Sogs, which means it's all up to Mims and the clash of Angmo. Wildcard on side now.
No.
Diesel going for the plan, and he is just getting swarmed by Wildcard players now. That is one way to counter the clash. And now with the 5 versus 1, it's all up to Mims. He's only got about 15 HP, maybe 20 if he's lucky. I think it's going to be pretty dire for him as a flawless round comes out for Wildcard to end the map.
Wildcard with a flawless opening to tonight's series. Theme Park proving too strong once again. Experience prevails and it's a 7-3 victory to kick off proceedings. Unfortunately, that innovation from LFO just not quite giving them enough of an edge.
No, definitely not working out for them, and that is their map pick down the drain as well. We've talked about it before with Six Masters. There's quite an increased emphasis on winning your map pick, given that you have quite the selection available to yourself. Now Wildcard bringing out a massive stop there at 7-3, and LFO are going to have to think hard as they come into the next one.
Can we just take a moment to laugh at that clash at the end? Anglo was getting swarmed by, what was it, 3 or 4 players just spamming melee to try and disrupt that shield. So look, Angmo not really having a good time at the end of that one, and I don't think LFO as a whole were really having a great time either, as Wildcard just stomped him in the end.
Yeah, and I just think there was some fundamental issues with their playstyle. Again, with that strat on initiation, what it relied a lot of is just stalling Wildcard out of sight, right? And Wildcard decided to push in towards that bunk daycare area, which is fine, and the Clash can contest that early. But what seemed to happen is that players are just trying to early peek aggressively onto those players and break. And I was just getting fragged out by Wildcard, but that's not really where the stall point needed to be. It was actually that next phase, that final push to initiation. If they had more players alive around control and in initiation, and that Clash harassing them at that open rotate, well then that would have been really tricky for Wildcard to get into, and Wildcard had taken quite a while to get to that stage. I just think little things like that could really change LFO's play to work out a little bit more effective.
Well, LFO's map pick has gone in favor of Wildcard, so it's going to be an uphill battle for them. We'll see on the other side of the break, though. Map number 2 is coming very shortly.
Attackers bomb diffuser has been planted. Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser. Attackers bomb diffuser has been joined. Attackers dropped the diffuser. Attackers are activating the diffuser. 2 seconds left. Dropped the diffuser.
to the fun, will it stand the test of time? Right now I need a sign. Tell me if it's over, come a little closer. We should take our time to think this damn thing over. Should we grow closer? Should this be over? My heart for your mind, probably we should start over. Tell me if it's over, am I your lover? Are we going solo? Or is it polo? Her face is saying don't go. I'm acting like I don't know. Whisper my name, say what you want, show me your thoughts. I do the same. My breath on your neck while I slowly caress. Feelings in gray, it's still the same. Tell me if it's over, come a little closer.
Hello there and welcome back to Six Masters 2020. Guz and Raven here, bringing you all of tonight's action. We've completed one map, Raven, and it was pretty one-sided in the end. Wildcard taking down LFO 7-3. It was LFO's map pick, but they just didn't produce the goods.
Yeah, and that's a very important point. It was LFO's map pick, and to get pretty manhandled like that by Wildcard is a bit disappointing. LFO did have some moments of greatness there, but they weren't able to capitalize enough. And something we were talking about pre-show is that they really are going to have to step up their adaptation game against a team like Wildcard. And I felt like that's where they were lacking the most on Theme Park.
I think the one redeeming factor for LFO was they were trying to bring some elevation, some innovation. I almost said elevate. They're playing later tonight. They bring some innovation to the table on a map that has felt a little bit same in the two maps we've watched outside of what they have brought to the table. Again, it didn't quite work out, but maybe we could see that sort of flow on to Clubhouse, and we could see some more stuff, new stuff on that map, which might be able to bring them over the line. But it's going to be tough. It's Wildcard's map pick. They're riding on a high at the moment, so the odds are really against LFO.
Yeah, Wildcard do have a lot of momentum behind them going into their map pick. LFO did play quite well against Elevate on this map in the first week of Six Masters. It was the map that they won against Elevate 7-2. So they can hold that in front of their strength or confidence, bring that against Wildcard, but they're really going to have to step it up after Theme Park because that was their map pick. And like you said, this is Wildcards, so Wildcard are going to be knowing what they're doing on this map.
Well, let's recap the community poll vote and see how you guys at home are tracking after that first map. Look, I know I'm out of the running. I said LFO, so I'm a part of the 18% that have been knocked down already, but look, there's still 82% of you guys at home that are in with a fight. And look, that 73% wins looking more and more likely, I think.
I think once you look at how those teams played, even if you take away whose map pick it was and all that kind of stuff, I just think in general form, Wildcard just looked a lot tighter, a lot more confident, and a lot more structured. So I really feel like this is going to be Wildcard's map yet again. It's just a matter of what the scoreline will be.
It's Wildcard and LFO. Map 2 in this best of 2 series. Clubhouse is the setting. Let's jump straight into the action. Keep in mind, of course, this is Wildcard's map pick, so expect them to be quite dominant here heading into it, and they will be starting on the attack though, so maybe LFO will be able to get something from that. Again though, it will be an uphill battle. Ban phase Raven. Look, I'm going to say it's pretty predictable what we're going to see here probably.
Yep. Thatcher banned out by LFO, and I'm feeling it's probably going to be the Ying from Wildcard. It's been a consistent attack ban from them, not something that they want to deal with. I think that's probably smart as well against LFO, because LFO seem like the kind of team that would be really willing to try and do a few innovative little tricks with an operator like Ying.
Kaid will be the first defensive ban. Wildcard, despite utilizing him on Theme Park, will take him off the board. Essentially, that leaves Bandit left to electrify any walls, and I believe Emo Rin has been the player tasked with doing that in the past and will often commit to it, especially on that CCTV wall and Jacuzzi wall upstairs. LFO ending proceedings, taking Echo off the board.
That's one thing about Wildcard, is that they do share around their operators quite a bit. So I've seen Kaid played by almost everybody on their team, to be honest, at one stage or another across different maps. They are very flexible players, and that helps a lot when it comes to a map, especially like Clubhouse. There's a couple of different operator lineups you might want to bring to counter certain situations. I'm sure Ethan's not going to stick that Kali, but hey, if he does, that's a really big surprise and could be really interesting.
Of course, again, like the first map, Thatcher taken off the board. Hills, that's an interesting 6-pick, bringing Mirror, an operator that also was taken off the board in the previous map, but has slipped through this ban phase. And Mirror is traditionally an operator that Wildcard will ban out. So the question will be how they deal with her when she's on the board.
Yeah, definitely an interesting pick. We talked about it a bit last night, actually. The effect of operators that are banned so frequently that even when they're available, they're still not getting picks. And Mirror was kind of the first that went through that. So here is Hills picking her. So this is something that will create a surprise for Wildcard and something they will have to deal with. They do have good operators to deal with it, depending where those mirrors are placed. Of course, that's the critical situation there. Geo being the hard counter to that, but he's going to be using his X-Kairos, I'm sure, on a couple of these hatches and maybe even to get into dirt.
I hope my memory's not serving me wrong, but I definitely feel as if Mirror has been brought to the table by Hill and his team previously. I don't know, something about it is just making me feel like they have done this before, so maybe, again, if my memory's serving me right, they do feel comfortable playing her, despite, again, her ban phase, ban percentage, rather, being quite high. It's feeling a bit like we're in a time warp. We're heading back to... when would it have been? Like 2017, early 2018, when Mirror was all the rave. Almost every every round she was picked. So we're definitely seeing some older style setups with that Mirror on the board.
Yeah, especially that one on Church. That is a little bit nostalgic in a way. You know, he really was old meta a long time ago. Be interesting to see because, I mean, you call it old meta, and in theory, if it's old meta, it should be easy enough to counter these days. But maybe if you're a little rusty attacking something like that, it could create an issue for Wildcard. Then again, maybe they'll look at that and be like, this old thing, I'll deal with that.
Oh, it's an interesting point because obviously way back then, Wildcard, this roster looked quite different to how it does currently. So maybe as a unit, they haven't had that practice attacking these sort of mirror strats. Tipping, not many teams would be scrimming with a mirror on the board. So it'll be interesting to see how they try and counter it. Looks like we're going to see pretty traditional takes so far. Diesel working that bar hatch with the blowtorch. A few issues getting it open. It will eventually pop. The rest of the team now get into position and try and do some of this utility.
And look, poor Diesel did cop a bit of flack about his blowtorch work on Clubhouse earlier in Six Masters. Great to see that his lines are looking a little bit cleaner, so good stuff, big fella.
Who was you copying the flack from? Was that you, Raven? Would you be that mean?
No, it wasn't me personally. But I definitely saw a lot of stuff on Twitter, people adding him, talking about his beautiful Maverick work.
Yes, the ANZ community always loving a good meme. But that timer came down pretty quick. We're under a minute now, and Wildcard really haven't got a whole lot of action on site. Ooh, that was close from Geo. The pot just getting in the way there of that player on ping. LFO holding strong so far.
Time is starting to tick away from Wildcard. They do have some good control now, Kitchen at least. But with only 30 seconds to go, there's a lot more that's going to be needed there. It looks like Nasty is still playing in Arsenal position. Plays deep AK. Mims will get a pick onto Diesel, so it's looking pretty good for LFO now.
Geo does finally find one for his team, but there's only 15 seconds left and the man advantage against them. It's going to be a rough ride. Maybe Geo now left to try and clutch it up as Geo will find his second, really giving his team a fighting chance here. But those mirrors are proving so difficult to clear. Sogs is able to sit behind that. Will eventually aggress that player, will push through Church. Will they have time to go for the plant? They do. Geo needs to try and stick it, but he can't. Sogs goes big there to finish off round number 1. And look, I'm going to say it. Those mirrors really did play a big role in how that round played out.
It just looked like Wildcard's strat was to not worry about it. So they took kitchen control, they had a bit of control around main stairs, and then they pushed down blue. And by that, in theory, if they got that blue control, they could have potentially just taken Arsenal in itself, but didn't really work out. And I don't think that's strong enough. What they really needed to make that work was dirt. But then they could have cleared out that mirror position better. The final positions of those players in Arsenal, I think some of you are still playing very comfortably around AK rack, for example. Yeah, so maybe a little sloppy and slow from Wildcard on that clear. So that, I've got to say, I agree. That mirror shot looks like it worked out.
CCTV and Cash will now
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many
get some
bombs as
show
they
time.
can.
I'm going to see LFO bringing the double projectile combo for Wamai and Jaeger. It's a bit of a shame that Wamai and Jaeger doesn't quite have the same ring to it as the Mute Mozzie combo. Try to think of like some sort of name we can give it, but I don't know, my mind has drawn a blank. That's why I keep saying the long and convoluted double projectile denial. It just, yeah, it doesn't have a great ring to it, but until I think of a replacement, I'm just going to stick it.
Double projectile denial does not have a great ring to it at all. I definitely agree with that. And yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to workshop little ideas there because I feel like it's going to end up coming up with something cringe like
Attackers'
Omega.
objective is to locate a bomb.
Oh no, yeah, we're not using that.
All right, LFO. Let's start this map pretty well, I'm going to say, guys. I like their strat on Church Arsenal, and this is really the half where it's going to be make or break for them. They're going to be having to bank a lot of these defense rounds.
Common pre-fire there from Pat, the con window. We did see, was it Juicy, I think, last night? Hit a
Yeah,
wallbang through that barricade. Yeah, it was quite the play. Pat holding that rotate meanwhile, making sure no one crosses over towards bedroom or returns from bedroom. Angmo will attempt to bandit trick the wall, and he actually pulls it off there. Now that's a clutch of a different kind from Angmo. He will now need to try and make it maybe to the main wall, but I'm sure Diesel will be able to open that with the blowtorch anyway. So Angmo pretty much done his job that he needs to so far in this round, and that will now allow for free passage in and out of garage.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Everyone's so good. I mean, they've stalled out this first minute, which is really critical to be getting that kennels wall open. And without that garage angle as well, it's giving the wildcard a little bit. And most importantly, that's a pellet or a round of X Kairos that can't be used later. Diesel is looking like he's going to use those remaining two to have a rotate into garage. That will help a little bit there. So many magnets being used to hold this catwalk position in garage, as well as an ADS. It's going to be very tough for Wildcard to push, but a really bad spot and peek from Mims there. He is picked off by Imarin with a misplay on LFO's side.
Mims will be kicking himself after that one. Just forgetting that angle existed, I guess, and Imarin does capitalize. He finds himself under a bit of pressure towards blue, but that rappel is quite dynamic and he can move out of that line of sight quite easily. Sog's still playing on those stairs. It doesn't feel like Pat has been made aware of his position and is holding that flank. If Sogs plays this patiently, might be in for a play here. Wildcard are fully aware of that position there.
Super important there, though, is that Wildcard instantly realized once that they killed Mims, Garage was theirs, and they took it so fast. They have really strong control here. Diesel's, in fact, in planting now in default position. Ethan's going deep, and he's well covered from the breach. This is looking very good for Wildcard.
Angro taken down as well as Ethan just walks straight through the side, and now it's the two roamers that need to reclaim control. Sogs will eventually make his way through garage, but Pat will absolutely destroy him there on the 3-speed lean spam, and Wildcard will close out that round flawlessly. That garage control forfeited by Mims proves costly, and Wildcard will get one back.
Really just shows how strong that position is, and also a good team will realize that, and Wildcard just capitalized so fast. LFO did not have an opportunity to retake that position, which is what you would normally try and do. Even though bridge is open, that's how critical that spot can be, and given that it happened with still half the round to play, just gave Wildcard so much pressure and control onto LFO, they had no opportunity to try and fight back.
Maybe it's a case of no mirror equals no LFO, question mark? Ooh. Well, they haven't brought mirror this round, so I mean, if LFO lose this, and I'm sticking by that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely played a big factor in their success of that Church Arsenal defense. They're going to have to be able to win more than just that site if they want any chance of closing out this map. And in fact, if they are behind at the half rotate here, I think it's going to be pretty dire for them. Been the strength we've seen Wildcard on their clubhouse defenses
10
before.
seconds to go.
I mean, I was
5 seconds left.
theory crafting this a little bit before we returned from the break. I was sort of saying that
Attackers must
there's
locate
a
and
real
defuse the
chance
bomb.
Wildcard could storm away with this one. And I mean, if they get some momentum on this round and can carry that on to basement and counter that mirror strategy that LFO have produced, and that really puts them in a predicament. LFO, that is, and incredibly hard to recover from, especially after suffering a loss on your own map. It's really going to start to make things challenging for the headspace of LFO.
I agree, and it's something that they have, in the past at least, the most recent 2 weeks, they've never seemed too hindered by mentality or mindset related issues. This is going to be a massive challenge for them because this is really where they've looked their worst this entire series. I mean, Theme Park was one thing, but even so far in Clubhouse, the first round wasn't too bad. That previous round being a flawless against them, quite poor. So far, Wildcard have struggled to take this CCTV cache control though, and if LFO can hold it out for at least another minute, definitely giving themselves a great opportunity for the round.
Yeah, as long as Enigma is in the team chat of LFO, Enigma being their coach, is hyped and up and about. Look, I have no doubts LFO can keep a strong mindset, because that man, he can make you believe in anything, I reckon. Oh, Ethan, he hits some shots on Agmo, trying to hold cash. He's finding himself in a world of hurt, and Emorin does finally shut him down. That's the pick that Wildcard needed, and now they can start to progress towards Con.
Very, very important control there, and they've attained it at just the right time. So this is going to make it a lot tougher now for LFO to hold this. I don't believe anything has really happened with Jacuzzi Wall. Gio looks like he spent most of his time there, assisting with that CCTV cache clear. So he's going to rotate around now, and I would expect he might go towards Jacuzzi Wall. But if they don't do that, then they're putting a lot of emphasis on being able to take logistics. And even still, they're giving a lot of map control to LFO to be able to deny plant.
Emorin picking up that Claymore over at the Con window to reposition it, placing it now on the gym window. These players trying to hold from the balcony. Shots raining out to try and get rid of these barricades, but there's only 30 seconds left. Not a whole lot of time for Wildcard to play with. You expect them to get quite explosive here. You might even see some vault-ins as a C4 will rain out. Neither player being down from that. Diesel, meanwhile, does get one with his
Attackers have
grenade.
located a bomb.
As Hill's taken out, he will be stalled out a little bit by that smoke. I think quite a bit of damage, but will eventually be able to make his way through. Nasty gets one. Gio been down as well, so it's effectively a 3-on-3, but Diesel will find his second for the round. That's Nims. Get up to Nasty. Just Nasty as he will try and get one with the C4. Does drop shot his other opponent, but a quick refrag there from Pat, and Wildcard will take the round.
Definitely looked possible for LFO, but they looked rattled. I mean, they knew that at least one player was pushing logistics. That smoke player peeked them super early there on the main stairs. But yet they still got shots in the back onto the players in Master Bedroom. Of course, they were also getting shot from multiple angles. But just not reacting quick enough to their positioning was LFO, and it meant that Wildcard just absolutely surrounded and choked them. Another strong attack from Wildcard. LFO will get a chance to go back to Church Arsenal. They're showing the mirror, feeling like it's going to be the 6th pick.
Could well be, or maybe
Or maybe
LFO
not.
are just that confident. I don't know. We'll soon find out.
Is your
Looks
no
like it
mirror,
will be.
no win kind of theory playing out
Yeah.
here?
Clearly
Defenders
been
protect
listening
your
to the
bombs
cast,
being
and
defused by attackers.
like, oh yeah, Guz knows what he's talking about, surely. We'll stick the mirror, we'll win the round. I don't know, maybe Wildcard are expecting it to be 6 picked off. Either way, they'll be anticipating it to maybe still be there, of course, and trying to think of a way to counter it. Their approach last time, as you mentioned, was really just to try and ignore it. That didn't really pay off. Only exploiting those choke points even further. So, hard to say if it will have the same effect this time.
It's going to all come down to what we see Wildcard do in terms of their push.
5 seconds left.
I think for LFO, I mean, it was a heavy turtle last time. They didn't really have any roamers, nobody with an offsite presence, and it looks so far that that's probably going to be the play here again. Wildcard are going to be aware of that. They've got some nice default drones here already that we can see. They're going to be able to take quicker map control. They're not going to be as worried about that roam, and that means they might have more time to deal with things like that mirror and a different push. And in fact, there is a player offsite there. It looks like it's Sogs on that Jaeger, just lurking around on that top floor.
Critically, though, he has been droned out. Sogs needs to be mindful. His position may have been revealed. Clearly not seeing that drone on top of the cupboard.
Reloading, cover me.
Diesel will follow him and does have that drone taken down, though. Emerin looking to reply. Holding that condor. Wide pegs. He hears the Jaeger, shuts him down, and that's a confident entry from Wildcard.
And I don't know about the roam attempt either. They've got no mute, no mozzie, nothing to really help him. And in fact, he's all by himself, so no refrag opportunity. Against a team like Wildcard, you saw it perfectly from that drone. Their drone placement and drone usage is really good. So that was always going to probably end in disaster for Sogs. It has delayed a little bit of time, but I think it's nothing compared to delay last time for Wildcard. They're going to do some work on these hatches now. They do have a man advantage moving forward.
One thing that LFO do still have working for them is the fact that those mirrors will still be up on the site. The biggest challenge that Wildcard did face last time they attacked the basement. So Sogs being taken out may not be the absolute worst case scenario. Those ADS devices likely already placed around the map, or at least around the objective. There's see some initial drone setups from Wildcard. And again, it doesn't look like there's been a whole lot of attention or utility invested into clearing any of those mirrors quite yet. So maybe that's something we'll see later in the round. Oh. Okay.
Mims fights back. That's Diesel off the board. So that does help a little bit. Time is starting to tick away, so Wildcard are going to have to try and do a little more to work sight here, and some shots coming down into Mims is definitely how you want to do that. Trying to throw the impact, but Geo is actually going to take his head off before it does much damage. It's Emerin pushed up very deep here in blue as well. He does have this mirror to deal with though. It's going to stop him a little bit.
Wildcard again being stalled out by that utility. Angry actually able to rotate in towards blue, gets aggressive and pre-fires towards the stairs, doesn't net the kill though. Emerin very sketch position he's found himself in as Emerin as well, quite in a sketch position. I can't even get my words out as frags will now be coming through. The hatch drop as well is unsuccessful and it's a 2-on-2. 5 seconds left. Hills gets a knife. It's absolutely going off here. Emerin needs to try and find the kill. Hills trying to play time, and he actually finds himself on top of the crate. And Hills will hold on to win the round. What in God's name just happened? Oh my goodness. I thought I lost it when my words started turning into a mess, but then the game itself just turned into an absolute mess. Oh my. I don't know, Raven, do you want to explain what happened then? Because I honestly have just, I don't know. It just, yeah, that's crazy.
I don't know if that's really explainable, other than, I don't know, Hills must be taking salsa lessons or something, man, because he just danced around every bullet Emo was shooting at him. And Emo, I guess, potatoed a little bit, had to reload. Time ran out. I don't know, that was nuts. And LFO just straight through, again, on Church at least, but bringing it back to some context now, guys. What we really need to see from LFO is some wins on these other sites.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Look, I stand by what I said. No mirror, no wins. So it's going to be a 4-2 in favour of Wildcard. I have the script in front of me. It has been written. LFO will not pick mirror again for the half, and it's going to be 4-2 Wildcard. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I see. Well, let's just see how it plays out, guys. I don't believe you.
Wait. Why is Hills being stimmed? What's going on there?
He got tagged up early in some setup. I reckon it was an errant shotgun blast from Nasty. Didn't quite see it, but he was down on about 75 HP. I think given his play style and the operator he's on and the way he's going to be playing that, you probably want him to have that full HP for that extra confidence.
It's all a part of the strat. Bring the dock. Hills will take some damage. We'll heal him. Very deep strategic play here in the Six Masters. In all seriousness, though, it's still definitely not looking like the momentum has shifted in favor of LFO. That last round was sketch, and I mean, they haven't proved themselves on any objective outside of basement thus far. This is the opportunity to do so. 2 rounds left in the half for them to get any sort of lead. Pressure already being mounted by Wildcard as Diesel will be tasked with opening this wall.
The zap's going to be a bit of a pain for him. It looks like he has been able to get it open nice and quickly there. So it's going to be really good for Wildcard once they get that fully open. They can cut that important rotate across. Like LFO, it's going to be playing tightly on site for now. Put much pressure elsewhere, at least at this stage. Angmo actually, he is contesting pretty heavy in garage, and again, he is fragged out. So maybe it's just some extra aggression not working out at all here for LFO.
Mims will have one of his Evil Eyes taken down there inside a garage. Not quite sure if he has another, he might not. Shoots one of the drones trying to give away his location. Wildcard well and truly aware that he is on these rafters. Always pretty sketchy trying to peek this as an attacker. Of course, Mims running the older as well. A formidable gun to spray down multiple enemies. Jerry will need to be on point with his shot here. Flashes do come out to try and disturb him, but Wildcard are being stalled out.
Yeah, they're really banking on getting this control. And even if they dedicate the next 20 or so seconds to it, maybe even 30, it's going to be worth it. That frag grenade doesn't hit those. That's going to make it a little bit hard. Mims sees the edge of that Habana and actually walks into the next grenade. A bit unfortunate there. Hills did find a trade elsewhere, but that's going to give Wildcard the important garage control that they've been looking for.
Oh, nasty. Almost finds one. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage though, considering he had a powerful position. It is a 3-on-4. 30 seconds left on the board. Nasty goes for an errand C4. No one actually sitting there. Wildcard with a triple stack over towards garage. It's going to be a big play as they're trying to execute a default plan. Moving on the main wall to cover the cross, and this is looking very, very strong from Wildcard. They do need to be mindful that the run out doesn't come from Con. I'm sure Nasty will definitely be considering it. Jerry watching the flank. So it might not work out here for Wildcard if it can be denied, but it isn't. And now it's a 3-on-2 post plant. Nasty and Hills. Nasty coming through quite late there on that rotate, unable to really help in denying the plan. And look, at this stage, it's basically impossible. Ethan has been down, but there's a player outside the breach that needs to be dealt with. Not a whole lot Nasty can do until he's taken out. Might be able to try and long arm it, but it's going to be a tall order. 7 seconds he needs to stick it for. He fakes it once. Will actually down Emo Ridden now. He might be able to stick it. Where's Geo? That is the big question. He's inside a garage. Can he swing through late enough? He pre-fires the angle. Will take him down. It was a little bit close for comfort, but Wildcard will secure round number 5.
Yeah, that was getting a little bit tight there. I thought that maybe he was in the right position where he would have been able to get that final second ticked away. I think it was about 1.3, 1.4 seconds left on the defuse timer. Didn't quite get to see it, but either way, Wildcard, it was a pretty good attack again. Like I was saying, they banked so much on getting that garage rafter control, and once they did, they were pretty set. The fact that Nasty wasted that C4 meant there was no distance denial for LFO to be able to use, so that default plant was always going to be safe. Unless they managed to get someone below, maybe they could have got pings out, denied from below, or like you said, that run out from construction might have been a viable option. But all of those missed by LFO, and Wildcard secure that.
3-3 now, the best scenario for LFO as we enter the final round of the half, and it's probably a result they wouldn't have wanted. Of course, it is Wildcard's map pick, but when you're on a clubhouse defense, you need to be gathering as many rounds as possible. LFO haven't decided to head upstairs to CCTV and cash again. An objective that they are yet to win. Of course, they've only actually won basement.
10 seconds remaining.
I don't know, maybe I'll be able to stick by what I said. No mirror, no wins for LFO, because if they don't win this round, that will be the case.
I think it's also worth pointing out as well that that most recent basement win in round number 4 probably shouldn't have been a round win. Given how it ended.
Hills played that perfectly. I don't know what you're talking about. Perfect
Yeah, I don't
professional
know.
play.
I mean, I haven't checked socials, but if that got clipped, you guys should definitely suss out the Rainbow Six ANZ Twitter to see if it is there. And if not, suss it back on the VOD, because that was a really strange way to end a round. But either way, yes, LFO, the best they can hope for is a 3-3, and that's a pretty disappointing defense half, I'd say, for them. Given how they played against Elevate on this map, they had a really strong defense half.
Diesel again, tasked with opening the wall with the Maverick torch. Or maybe just enough to get off the electrocuted parts. Maybe Jer will come across and open some holes, not too sure. Maybe it is soft. I think it might be a little bit hard to tell. Either way, Ethan does find a pick there. So it will be a 5-on-4.
Again, players trying to get a little over-aggressive. I think it's great that Angmo maybe had the thought that he wanted to slow down the take of the west side. But in the end, given the control that Wildcard have over there is pretty strong, just shoot and pull back. It's still going to delay a lot of time, and it's better to have 5 people alive than to delay an extra 10-15 seconds. So overextending seems to be a bit of a story here, and there's a lot more presence coming from this bedroom side now. So Garage not being banked on as much by Wildcard on this push, and it's working out tremendously as Pat finds another kill, giving them a 2-man advantage.
That's another one taken down as Ethan gets to work from below, helping not only getting the wall open, but getting another pick. Sogs and Mims now to try and hold out for a minute. Mims' position revealed by that drone, I assume. Not sure if Sogs has been found as well. If he gets aggressive over towards main wall, Nemo Marine will shut him down, and now it's Mims inside a garage. It's a 5-on-1. He finds one, but all of these kills are likely just going to be to pad out the stats as Diesel goes for the plant. This one out towards the breach. That will light him up. His position well and truly revealed, and he will be taken off the board. It's a good round there for Wildcard on the attack. It's a good half for them as well. And, yeah, things not looking great for LFO.
It's very swiftly going down the drain for LFO. Wildcard really strong there. They showed some good adaptation as well. It was the 3rd time that LFO have held that site, and essentially similar setup. You know, they didn't really change a whole lot. They tried implementing the Maestro on their 2nd attempt. Didn't work out, so they switched back to that Wamai. But where the big adaptation was on that side of Wildcard. Instead of them going for that garage push like they had in the previous 2 attempts, they just went straight for construction, and they put so much pressure through there, and it led to a lot of early frags. Really hard to LFO for recovery from that.
I can finally say it with confidence. No mirror equals no LFO. At least not on Clubhouse against Wildcard. There you go. It is now fact. You know what else is a fact? Wildcard have a 2-round lead heading into this defense, and they are sitting quite comfortably on their map pick as well. Nonetheless, so look, I think it's probably safe to say it's only a matter of time until they close this one out. However, we have seen some comebacks already in Six Masters 2020. Maybe, just maybe, this could be another tale.
10 seconds to insertion.
Wait and see. Looks like Wildcard are the ones doing the solid SSG roam here. It's only a thorn in the side of LFO if they decide to push that. I wouldn't put it past LFO to be the kind of team that might try and orchestrate something to ignore it, but I believe Elevate tried a similar thing on Clubhouse, to which LFO went for that room clear. 3 players already here on the garage side. It's going to take a bit of time to drone this out due to the fact that there is a mute Mozzie combo there, and in fact Mozzie's going to steal a drone on that garage stairwell. It is shot though, not used against them.
One thing that's interesting to note is that Mute has made it through the ban phase, unlike Theme Park. Wildcard taking full advantage, bringing that Mute Mozzie combo, which is, you can see quite visually on screen now, can cause some issues, not only in opening the walls like that gem is placed, but also in gathering some intel. Doesn't look like LFO will ignore the roam, instead opting to push from CCTV, so could see some gunfights ensue a long way away from the site.
Sogs has actually been downed off a run out there from Ethan, but he got saved by his teammate, but a run out from Pat to try and get it. What is this aggression from Wildcard? Another one peeking from construction. That's Emo Rin. Well, that's one way to execute a roam. Don't push us. And it's a 3 versus 3 now, Guz. All those early engagements happening in a matter of 10 seconds.
It's all about the number 3. It's a 3 versus 3. All of those gunfights taking place on the 3rd floor. So, yeah. Well, 2nd floor. I mean, if you want to include basement as a floor, but just go with the analogy. It was kind of cool.
It works.
Yeah, I'll take it. I mean, sure LFO will take the round win as well if they can snatch it after that, because that was quite insane. Talking about insane, I mean, we're just segueing everything at the moment. Hills somehow getting his drone up the ladder there with some finesse. We did see all of Wildcard default back towards site though, so they shouldn't be too worried about roamers. Instead, trying to focus their efforts now on the execute.
Important part of that is that Mims was one of those players lost, so that is the X-Kairos that won't be used to open some of that hard reinforced wall or even hatches. They do still have the Maverick, but 2 players funneling down blue. It's giving me the impression they're really worried about that. Does down Immerun with some nice shots. Hills though, sneezing, he's going to die. He's pushing deep. He sees the back of the player at the box. Nasty does get him. It's a good position, in fact, for LFO. It's going to be a 2 versus 3.
Spicy from Geo goes for the res and will pull it off. Question is, are LFO prepared? It's a 3-on-2 plant scenario. Killed, finds one more, and he'll find the second, I believe there. Yes, he does. And LFO managed to win their first attack, so definitely not going down without a fight.
Look, after the way that started too, like you said, if I was LFO, I'd be pretty happy with that. I like that their attack to site in the end was just simple. There's that run out. Mims did get the refrag, but it was just Wildcard from every window possible. Nasty just thankfully getting that tight angle from CCTV. But yeah, I like that LFO ended up keeping that attack to site simple. Once they lost, Mims not able to open extra hatches or church wall, for example, they just said, let's just take blue, funnel into to Arsenal, and it worked perfectly.
4-3 will now be the scoreline. LFO in a perfect position to even things out just when it started to look like it was slipping out of reach.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs.
Cash and CCTV will have its first appearance in this second half. Interested to see what Wildcard will bring to the table. For the most part, LFO brought what we'd come to expect. Sort of the default competitive meta, and outside of really the castle, probably going to be pretty similar here from Wildcard.
Something we've seen from Wildcard in their clubhouse play in the 6 Masters is extending this roam for CCTV cache down onto this first floor. It's been really interesting the way different teams have tried to push it. It can be tricky. I mean, you have to think about that. There's a lot of soft floor denial from below. It's not a safe plant. If you are planting last minute and you've decided to ignore this roam on the first floor, it really could come back to bite you.
Plane was being set up to protect the flank. Nasty getting to work now on the wall. Let's see how he goes compared to Diesel. Pretty clean first top line. He breaks that part of the reinforcement. Now it's up to him to break the bottom. Hills is ready and waiting in position to shoot back at anyone that's going to peek. Get. Not taking into account a player from Garage though, as Nasty takes quite a bit of damage. That has stalled out this wall just a little bit.
That electrocution is being a bit of a pain for him. Emo Rin gets tagged up pretty heavy though, through some shots. Denying entry of drones there at least. Against the intel. It's finally going to get opened though there. Nasty flashed on the retreat, but not going to be an issue as Hills opens that wall. Sogs does get the opening pick onto Pat. That's the visual off-site there, so they really are hard pushing this first floor. That means Diesel's going to be under a lot of pressure down here.
Minute 40 on the board. Hills with the entry into what the stock tries to go for a floor bang. Won't find a target, but Mims finds his. That's the bandit taken down. Mim's creating an angle now into garage with those X-Pyros pallets. May even create another to watch the garage rotate. Maybe LFO content in clearing that out elsewhere, as Angbo finds that one, and the second as well. Big round from LFO. Ethan now left in a 1-on-5 as he tries to hold on to his team's lead, but I don't think it's going to be possible. And there we go, LFO with a flawless round. Raven, this is actually turning into quite the interesting map.
I don't know, comeback train could be on here. They have equaled the scoreline, but Wildcard are playing a bit weird, man. I'm going to say some of these peaks are really strange. Like, there's two at the double peak at the breach. I think it was really ill-advised. Angbo, nice pick there onto the catwalk. I don't know, Wildcard. It was a good strat, but LFO really picked it to pieces. Well played by them. Wildcard can continue their rotation of sites, not repeating. They're going to go gym bedroom. Yeah, so far LFO attacking really well.
I guess the concerning thing for Wildcard at the moment is that they haven't found an objective that has worked for them yet. They lose gym bedroom now. Man, I don't want to be the person in the Wildcard camp picking where they pick, or picking where they choose to go for that fourth defense, because it definitely be challenging. I mean, I don't even know if there's really been a site you could say that's been the strongest yet. Both the rounds from LFO so far and their attacks have been quite strong.
I mean, this could be some part of the impact of that Kaid ban from Wildcard. Maybe that really is emphasizing that it's a lot harder to defend. I'm not really sure. I wouldn't have thought it would have such the impact, but it definitely is some really strong wall denial on this map. For example, there's so many Kaid spots that you put those electric claws that are so safe, and they're really hard to clear when the Thatcher is banned. Maybe that really is facilitating some of these attacks to be a bit simpler and smoother. I'm not sure. I wouldn't have thought so, but it's definitely a possibility.
Nice charge going off earlier there. That's actually the con wall, I believe, being blown by Hills. Interesting pair from the Sloggers at the con window as well. Interestingly enough, LFO electing not to bring a thermite. I'm assuming they expected them to go here, but haven't brought the FBI operator to open the jacuzzi wall or CCTV wall, instead leaning, of course, on that Maverick and the Havana, which might be a little bit easier considering, of course, Thatcher has been banned. His mute jammers should be relatively easy to clear out, even if they do want to get some hard breach on those walls.
Importantly there, Ethan was lurking in a bit of a precarious position down in billiards. You're looking to get a tight angle in through the gym hatch, or knowing Ethan, maybe a run out somewhere around strip to deny somebody's job there on that jacuzzi balcony. He is making a run for it into strip. Maybe running out to get somebody on master bedroom balcony and see whether it works out or not. His mute jammers are going to be a bit of a pain there for LFO as they're trying to drone further to site. Done a good job getting that wall open nice and early. And give themselves a smaller rotate just off to the side there, allows them to get in a bit safer, not exposed to logistics. Ethan got shut down by Hills there, so that's the little impact from Ethan. LFO with a man advantage.
Jeez, I don't even know where that kill was, but Hills knows. He was the one who claimed it, and will now start to open up the round. Geo gets one back though. It's a 4-on-4. I believe Nasty does have the diffuser in hand, as Hills will continue to lurk below. Potentially trying to find one through the con hatch, but won't. Nasty does have that diffuser. He's inside a gym now. Potentially in a position to plant, but no. Emo Rin will wide peek that and shut him down. Oh, Sogs almost gets one, but he's mindful of the flank. Trying to bait the peek here from Diesel, expecting it. Diesel not really giving into it just yet. LFO just being stalled out now. So going to have that man disadvantage, but Hills on that lurk will find one back, and now it's looking winnable.
Yep, it's looking good for LFO. They've got a double back now, which means it's all up to Geo and Emo Rin. Geo's going to get flushed out straight into the bedroom. Emo Rin in a tough position there in the bathroom as the players jump in. A good trade, but it's not enough. LFO close it out. 3 in a row, guys, means they're in the lead.
Well. Puts us in an interesting position, as I mentioned earlier. Now Wildcard need to decide which of those 3 sites they will reattempt. Which of those do they feel the most confident in attempting once more. It looks like it will be Church and Arsenal, so I'm not going to see Wildcard bring out Bar. No real surprise there, of course. Church Arsenal, I mean, look, the last time they defended it, it was probably the closest of the three, really. Or maybe that last round was a little tighter, but look, I can't really say with confidence that Wildcard should have won any of these defenses so far.
No, I totally agree. They haven't looked that good on defense at all. They're going to be going back down to Church Arsenal. See what they do this time to change it up. They're sticking the roam operator lineup at least. Whether they play it the same way, we'll see. A reminder, last time it was very aggressively played. Jumping out windows was 3 players, in fact, involved in that peaking effort Master Bedroom Construction Windows. Ended up being a 3-3 man count after those engagements. But it really did lead to their demise because LFO just had a lot of time, and with that simple push down blue, got Arsenal control, and that was it.
Looks like Wildcard will commit to the SSG roam again. LFO not shying away from clearing it last time. Expecting maybe something similar again here. Or maybe LFO will try and throw the rug from under Wildcard here and maybe rush site, but it's probably going to be quite unlikely.
Attackers dropped the diffuser.
However, you know, LFO, I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, I didn't expect
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
this map really to go for as long as it has. LFO, again, surpassing expectations, entering this tournament as the only team to fight through the open calls. They are the bottom-seeded team, but they are spoiling the party for so many of these top-seeded teams. And you know what? Wildcard may not be an exception to that.
Yeah, I mean, they were looking like it at one stage. Something interesting here is Nasty's dedicating a lot of blowtorch just to open this wall. And they don't have to worry about Kaid, so Mims will have free reign of getting those hatches open. As long as they clear out the roam effectively, they will have to think about impact tricks at least. Definitely Wildcard sticking this roam though. Ethan on the main stairs, Immarin in logistics, Pat dead. So that's a great start for LFO on this attack.
It's looking like LFO have pretty good control now of this first floor. So it might even be challenging for these Wildcard players to even get back towards side as they, I believe, try to. GS found his way back. Ethan as well. So they're expecting a push quite soon here, maybe from LFO. Halfway point of the round now reached. LFO looking like they're in a pretty good position at the moment.
Still one roamer it looks like I saw from the outline in logistics. So Hills is the one tasked with trying to keep an eye on him as Anglo is progressing aggressively down the main stairs. Get close to Church wall here. It's going to put a lot of pressure on the people on site. That's a nice quick double kill coming out, which means LFO have a huge man advantage and still a minute to play. This is looking very good for them.
Anglo gets aggressive to try and find another, but the wide peek from Ethan will net him that kill. LFO need to try and be mindful of trying to throw such a strong round down the drain. Ethan and Geo left to try and hold off this attack. Both players in pretty strong positions. Ethan with a nice shot will drop Hills. LFO stalled out now towards blue as Ethan almost finds another. Sogs though will get one. And to 1-on-3. Ethan will need to hit the ace this round. Surely they can just get the plane over towards Schmed. It looks like Nasty will attempt it. Almost denied, but the crossfires are too strong. And seemingly out of nowhere, LFO now on match point, and Wildcard will be scratching their heads. How have they let this slip away?
I think just some of those early defenses in this half, they just played a little too aggressive. And I'm not sure whether they thought that by just running at LFO, it's going to throw them off a bit, kind of maybe bully them. Capitalize on some mindset. I'm not really sure on the rationale behind it. It didn't look characteristic Wildcard from my eyes. And that's just given LFO too much momentum. And look at it. It's 4 rounds in a row. They're a match point. And Wildcard, they didn't really look in that last round either. LFO's entry was fantastic. The only look in was when Angmo just got way over aggressive trying to peek Ethan there in Church. Never want to give a good player an opening like that. But either way, LFO come away with it. And we might be seeing an LFO map win.
And again, Wildcard's stuck in limbo. They haven't won a defensive round, so they're really just cherry picking at what site they think is going to work here. Want want to point out as well, Sog jumping on to the Montang. I don't think we've seen Montang at all tonight. So again, something new for Wildcard to deal with, and maybe it will help LFO edge out this round with a perfect second half.
And speaking of perfect, the last time that LFO attacked this, the last time that Wildcard held it, was in fact a flawless round. So, bit of an alarm bell there. See whether it goes the same way or not. But regardless, LFO can hold some strong confidence coming in to attacking this site. I'm going to say the Montaigne is probably going to be utilized more towards garage side, maybe to take catwalk. I have a feeling, I'm not sure if my memory is just getting a little mixed up here, but I have a feeling they played the Montaigne against Elevate previously, and they actually pushed it more from the construction side. I'm not 100% sure whether that was this team or whether that was maybe Sinister, because they had been experimenting a lot with Fisher Guy playing the Montaigne.
One thing's for sure though, this map has been very interestingly heavily attacker-sided. I mean, 6 of the 8 rounds. Oh, sorry, no. Let me restate that. It's 6 rounds to 4 in favor of the attack. Of course, Wildcard won 4 of their attacks. Am I? No, it's 4 to 4.
It's 8. It's 8, buddy.
Yeah, yeah.
8 attack rounds.
Don't even. Yeah, it's attacker-sided. We'll go with that. I won't say numbers. I'll just say it's attacker-sided.
Right.
Which is
production. I'm going to need another co-caster. None of these guys can count.
Well, we don't want Dev because we know he can't count either. See, this is you last night. You threw me under the bus. You thought I could count, and so I'm blaming you.
Okay. All right. I'll take it. All right. Sogs is going to be trying to push garage here, but without any extra gunpowder, he's not really going to get in. Bit of pressure coming out. Pat got tagged pretty heavy. I believe he is the one playing in garage. At the bottom floor there's the Valkyrie. The Montaigne pinging that wall saying, Mims, open this. You can get an angle onto this Valkyrie. It's going to be too late. Drops through oil pit. It's going to rotate. And they're going to have to think about the flank now. It could be garage storage. It could be main stairs. Might present some kind of issue there.
This round's gone by in a flash. Just over a minute now to go. 5 on 5. Ping goes out. Mims trying to floor bang that player. I believe it was Pat. No, it wasn't actually. So Mims actually not hitting a single shot. Instead, just lighting up that metal bar. Emerin finds the entry, so Wildcard now with the advantage. This shield posing some issues for Emerin. Can Sogs get the kill though? Or maybe? No, he can't. Emerin will shut it down, and Wildcard will put their foot down, taking that round quite convincingly. A lot going on there, but Wildcard come out on top.
I don't know what Sogs was doing, man, but if you're a Montaigne and you get in the face of somebody like that, if you're not getting adequate backup through gunfights from your teammates, you just got to drop the shield and go for it. We've seen fantastic shield play like that from Lunametal on the Vodafone Giants in Southeast Asia. He's such an aggressive Montaigne, and it's really difficult to deal with, or can be just a pain to deal with. That's just maybe the difference there. They could have changed things for Sogs. Either way, LFO still retain match point. They had a buffer, but of course if they lose this round, we will be seeing overtime.
Indeed we will. Ethan 6 picking off Frost onto mute.
Attackers need to
Frost would have been a spicy pick, but maybe a little bit too spicy for the stakes these teams are playing for at the moment. They're opting for that mute Mozzie combo. Wildcard leaning on that quite heavily. Talking about leaning, Emerin being lent on by his teammates, going 13 and 7 off the back of a pretty strong last round. But I think it's probably safe to say it's been a pretty well-rounded effort by both teams. It hasn't really felt like it's been a massive game by anyone in particular. It's not like Ethan's been running around like crazy like he did last week and doing half the work. It's been pretty well-rounded by both teams.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm thinking really heavily right now about this Nook pick from Hills. It's quite strange. I guess, of course, Nook is quite niche. Niche? That's the right way to say it, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
You don't see Nook often, and I'm just not 100% sure of the exact situation that they're thinking of bringing her here. Maybe for a simple roam clear, or maybe he's just looking for a really quick undercover push to site
Attackers
to
recovered
open it
the
up,
bomb
because I mean that's
diffuser.
one other way to clear a roam, is if you put pressure on the site players, then the roamers have to drop back, because otherwise they're just letting their site players die.
I mean, we have seen Nook played once by LFO tonight on Theme Park with Sogs on occasion using it to flank late in the round. Maybe we'll see something similar from Hills. I think we're droning himself in potentially for the entry. Maybe trying to coordinate some sort of push with these roam clearers. Or maybe even trying to drop stock hatch, as you mentioned.
And the thing is, though, besides defaults, it's not like Wildcard have brought a massive amount of additional intel. Maybe if they've got a Mozzie drone, yeah. Or maybe if they've got a bulletproof, but for example, there's no Valkyrie, Echo, Maestro, none of those. Not like it's really hard countering intel. Geo very aggressively here, pushed up in Oil Pit. That's something that LFO are going to have to be careful of if they haven't droned carefully enough.
I can definitely envision a scenario where they drop the stock hatch here. It's really only Diesel on site. Actually, in saying that, Pat now has rotated and Geo as well, so it will be a little bit more challenging. Definitely not out of the realm of possibility if they can clear that player in blue, though.
I'm not 100% sure what they're trying to do here. I mean, Mims now aggressively pushed down blue, trying to take this gunfight. Still has 3 X-Kairos in the pocket, so I think that's really emphasizing the fact that they're not looking to do the classic structural push here. They're just going to try and flush out this roam and get the picks on the retake. Of course, they did get that entry onto Emorin, who's the hot player right now for Wildcard, so that's a good start.
45 seconds left, 9 players left, make that 8. Nope, it's 7 now as the frags will begin to rain out. Hills makes his way down blue. Ethan on the flank for Wildcard, could be quite spicy late in the round, but Mims will shut that down. And now we're entering the final stages of this round. LFO fighting hard to win this map, and now it's Diesel left to try and clutch it out. It's a 1-on-4 as Angmo will attempt the plant. Wildcard lose this round, they will lose the map, and in the process draw the series. It's a post plant. Surely Wildcard can't recover from this, and LFO will shut him down. The series will be 1 apiece. What a comeback there from the bottom seeded team. LFO are just taking it up to these big boys, and well, I'm sure they'll be happy with that recovery.
Absolutely. I think given that they lost their map pick in quite poor fashion, to be able to come back and take Wildcard's map off them, and the fact that it's a map off Wildcard, hands down, they will be happy with that. So really well played from them. It was really good teamwork. I mean, look at that scoreboard. It's really even across for LFO there. Imorin did start to stick out a bit for Wildcard. And yeah, really well played from LFO on those attacks. They won 5 of the 6, and that's what they needed to win.
Pretty nuts considering it was Clubhouse with a Thatcher ban. I mean, you theory crafted it a little bit earlier that maybe Kaid was having a little bit of an impact in these defenses being more challenging, but I mean, to that extent, that makes me raise an eyebrow. Surely that ban didn't have that much of an effect.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I mean, for me, when I look at Wildcard's defenses and what didn't work out for them, it looked much more like their playstyle. Especially those first 3 defenses, they had some really uncharacteristic aggression that LFO, even the times they weren't ready for it, they were trading it out. And it just put Wildcard in a really weird position late round that maybe they're not used to. So that meant that LFO were more playing in comfort zone than Wildcard. But other than that, yeah, it's hard to say exactly what fell apart for Wildcard. It's something we can think about when we ask Silex.
Well, of course, that draws out the series. I think it was like, what, 9% of the community voted for the draw. So again, that plays into LFO's hand of, you know, being that team that have said publicly as Enigma, you know, calling out people thinking, oh yeah, LFO's a bit of a joke. They're not really going to do a whole lot in this tournament. But I mean, they've taken a map off Wildcard. They've taken a map off Elevate. They're here to stay. Like, it's pretty unbelievable to see a team like this really come in and show their worth so early.
Yeah, and something that I'm also interested about is Wildcard picking Clubhouse in the first place, because that was the map that LFO won in strong fashion against Elevate 7-2 in the first week of 6 Masters. So I mean, I guess Wildcard said, oh, we can counter that a bit, we can adapt to it, they won't see what's coming, but it clearly hasn't worked out.
Well, we have the man himself. It is Enigma from LFO. Let's bring him up. Enigma looking very fine in the suit tonight, must I say. Congratulations on taking the map tonight. Obviously, Theme Park not quite going your way, but a good recovery there on Clubhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we just struggled on Theme Park to adapt. Wildcard are prolific for being one of those teams who can just, adapt on the fly and really take a team by surprise. And, while we did do a lot, and I mean a lot of prep for that, we just failed to, bounce back. And so I gave one of my famous, halftime speeches and switched the boys on. And then before you know it, here we are.
Well, speaking of halftime speeches, at the end of the first half of Clubhouse, you were still down pretty significantly 4-2. Maybe give us some insight in what the turnaround was for the team. What was so different about your attack half over your defense half?
We pretty much just discussed we needed to be more direct with them, just be really in their face and take it away from them. I mean, defensive half on Clubhouse, you'd hope to go for a 3-3 or a 4-2 in your favor. But when you go for a 2-4 in the opposition's favor, you think, okay, well, we can't be playing so passive and letting them dictate the game on us. So on the other hand, we come back, we think about exactly what we need to do, and we take the direct approach, and here we are.
I like it. You've got Knights next week, so you're really you've worked through the top of the table, so to speak. You've played Wildcard, you've played Elevate, you've played Akami, you've managed to get through with 3 map wins. So now you've got Knights next week. How's the feeling going into that match?
Wait, who are Knights? Oh, sorry, one of the other teams in this series. Oh yeah, sorry, my mistake. Yeah, I mean, we've taken a map off the top 3 teams. So, I mean, anything else, we're going to be setting the expectation that we're going to win. So, a team like Knights, I mean, congratulations, they beat Kanga 7-2, but Kanga aren't in the best form right now. They're going to be taking on this, as they described us as a tier 2 team. We'll be seeing who the tier 2 team is next week. That's for sure.
All right, Enigma, shots fired. All the best in your prep. We'll talk soon, mate. All the best.
Thanks, boys. Catch you later.
Oh my.
Oh boy. Well, that's just made next week's matchup.
Oh
very
no.
Spicy.
Oof. Well, I mean, look, maybe what he said was a bit, flamboyant, but let's be honest, entering this tournament, I'm sure the general consensus was that Pittsburgh would have been a better team than LFO, but I mean, if you look at the standings now, LFO will be above the Knights. So heading into that matchup, it's really anyone's game, and to be honest, on face value, sitting here right now, I'd probably have to back LFO to at least get a map.
It's definitely going to be an interesting series. I mean, the Knights did have a good week this week. It was a good point, though, by Enigma. I mean, they beat Kanga, who are unfortunately a bit of the stomp team at the moment. So it's really laid a great foundation for that series next week, and I'm a lot more excited than I thought I might be for it.
Well, we have our second interview of the night ready and waiting. It's Silex from Wildcard. Let's say g'day. G'day, Silex. A little bit of a weird one tonight. Each team taking the other's map. How are you feeling getting out of that one?
Like ups and downs. I mean, it's not great that we lost map 2, our pick. So, yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, let's dive into that. So, map 2 Clubhouse was your pick. What went wrong? You guys had a great start, 4-2 first half on your attack. How did it all fall apart on the defense?
So we did SSG strat a few times on the Church Arsenal defense. We're giving away like free picks, and like we really should be coordinating a lot better to get those opening frags and put them on the back foot. Instead, they're pushing us back and we're giving them openings. So they're capitalizing on that. And on the first attack, we didn't cover blue properly. We knew they were coming from that way as well, and crossfires just weren't held well. So they managed to take Schmedbox for free, got the plant down. Same sort of thing happened on every church attack, really. So yeah.
Yeah. And Theme Park, I'm just curious whether that was maybe a surprise pick for you guys. You played pretty well in the end, but how did it feel actually going into that map?
Theme Park's okay. It's like nice and fresh at least. Keeps things interesting. We didn't think they'd pick it. It was a bit of a wild card for them. So we had no intel on them for that map, and we just kind of had to play our own game. They saw us versus, what was it, Sinister? Where we just scraped the win. So they had intel on us. But yeah, played our game. and yeah, came out with a win on that one.
Awesome. Well, Alex, we appreciate your time as always. We'll see you next week when you take on Kanga. All the best.
Thanks. See you guys.
Bye. A little bit rough. I mean, look, when you lose your own map, it's never the best feeling, but hey, at least they got one. Could have been worse.
Yeah, I think it's extra rough for them because they played so well on their off-map pick, and given the fact that it was a bit of a surprise, and they won it purely by playing their own game, after hearing Salix's explanation of what happened on Clubhouse, they must have really lost sight of that because, as I said, a lot of those defenses didn't look like the wild card we've seen before. It really looked like they weren't playing their own game, and they just let LFO play much more in their comfort zone.
Well, that concludes the first series of this evening. Wildcard and LFO will trade a map each, but come back on the other side of the break. We will have Elevate taking on Sinister. You don't want to miss it.
10 seconds to go.